Welcome into another Conductor Sunday live stream. I'm your host, Theme Park Conductor, and we got two fantastic guests tonight, George, the Disney Italiano, and Jared from Capture the Magic. It's so awesome to be back on Conductor Sunday live stream after I kind of took a little of a hiatus. I blame George for that one. Just kidding. No, I took a little bit of a break because sometimes you just got to do that. But it's always great having these gentlemen on the live stream to talk about the parks and everything going on with the parks. But I'm going to start with George. How you doing, George?
Doing well. Glad to be back on Conductor Live. You know, it's awesome. It's been a while. I know the last time the three of us were on a live together, the conversation went to shit. No pun intended.
It did.
But you know, it's always a good time talking with you guys.
Oh my God. Here we go. Jared. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I didn't think George was going to come out. I thought we were going to wait later on before we brought that up, but no, it's always great being here. I appreciate it.
Oh my God.
Talking with you guys and having a good time on a Sunday evening. I've had a nice, not relaxing Sunday as much, but it has been a nice kind of like evenly busy Sunday, and it's been kind of nice. It's been a little rainy here, which has been kind of like relaxing, so not too hot. And I'm happy to talk theme parks and, you know, whatever comes up on this stream, if you will.
Yeah. Minus I don't censor you first because I know where you're going to lead to.
Listen, if the chat deems it, I mean, it's all to the chat, really. But,
if anyone tried to censor me the way my mouth is, you would think like it was like a lost connection.
Don't
because
make me
like one word after they'd be like,
So it's either I'm getting censored or my internet, which is being iffy tonight. It's either one or the other. So I'll never know which one it is. But, I guess we'll.
Well, I found George's kryptonite. I just have to call Josh tomorrow, and that'll end that conversation real quick.
Hey, listen, when Josh is the CEO, I have a picture with Josh in the park where we're buddies. And I'll be like, hey, man, I'm a friend.
Hey, you know what? I do, too. And guess what? I could remind him I ran all the way down Main Street to get that freaking photo.
You did do that.
I watched him do it. It's not that he did do it.
Because George running out. Oh, he is. Security really got rough with him there. Oh, no.
Like one of his like PR people was like, I'm so very sorry, but we can't stop for any more photos. It's like, I just ran all the way down from Main Street by the flagpole. I want a photo. And he was very gracious. He was very nice that he turned around because I think he heard the conversation.
Yeah,
like that I was having.
He saw the chest hair and he was like, I got to stop this guy. Because I feel like Diamaro and they get the Italian heritage there. He's like, I know I got to talk to George.
Of course. I also think he recognized me too, because when he said, are you going to be there on Saturday? And he was referring to the parks panel. And I said, oh yeah, I'll be there. He said, that's good. It's going to be a banger or something like that. He didn't use banger. I use banger for my words. I mean, I use bang for a lot of things, but
he dapped you up and you were like, oh man, John.
Yeah.
Brought out the gold. I feel like Diamaro should wear like a gold chain though. Like he should just really like lean into it.
He should. I wouldn't disagree with that. I would not disagree with
that.
Comes
out for the next D23 with like rings and a gold chain. You're like, oh man.
And then he has the open shirt, but he has a tattoo going across his neck.
Jeez Louises. Yeah, just go gangster style. Why won't you?
Listen, you got to they're trying to reach the kids. You got to get some video games involved. Just a little tattoo, where little extra stuff on there.
Get a plated grill. Just.
Jeez. Why don't you just say he should be in a music video with Mickey and Minnie just dancing on a studio floor somewhere?
With AI, he might be.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't doubt that. I would not doubt that for a minute. So I want to ask you guys, Jared, you actually reminded me, so thank you for reminding me. Yesterday, you said at 7 p.m. it was, they reopened Stardust Racers, and from what you're hearing from your sources, how you think that went last night?
I didn't talk to anybody from Universal. I did see on social media a couple people sent me messages. I mean, last night I think it got up to like a 200-minute wait. When they opened it up, there was like a mob of people that were like running back there to go get onto it. They did say it was going to open on the 4th and this Saturday, or yeah, it'd have been Saturday afternoon. I think rain came in, so kind of delayed it. But I think it came open around 7 o'clock, and then had a 1.150-minute wait, 1.200-minute wait. So it seemed like a lot of people were excited, and yeah, from what I could tell, it was a happy surprise for a lot of the people that were there.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
Hey, so George, I want to ask you the same question. Hearing what Jared said about a 200-minute wait last night, are you shocked by that?
Well, first of all, I'm glad that you reiterated what he said because I wasn't paying attention. But in any case,
never pays attention to me.
In all seriousness,
try my best over here, and just can't.
I think for me, it wasn't a surprise that it was a 200-minute wait. I think what's more surprising, and again, you guys may disagree with me on this, but I just feel like there would have been like a little bit of a continuing trend for a little bit of time, not just for the first day it opened, because especially since it opened, of what Jared was saying, that it opened later on in the day, sometime in the evening because of the weather. So all the more I would have thought like today would have been a continuation of like a high end amount of time, but it dropped significantly.
Yeah, it definitely dropped today compared to last night. Obviously there was some weather issues that wound up happening yesterday. That's why they couldn't open it until 7 o'clock. But
and also, I will say about Epic, Sundays a lot of times are much slower. And I was looking here on Theme Park IQ, the overall wait times today, on average, were 24 minutes for the entire park, and versus a few days ago it was like 73 minutes. 85 minutes. So today was one of the lower general wait times we've seen since like early May. Like if you look, it's actually around when the park opened. This was one of the lower wait times since then.
I think it's so funny of how each theme park kind of has its own scheduled time of like how people perceive of what's a busy day and what's not.
Yeah.
Like the last few times, like going to Disneyland on a Saturday, it was not as crowded, but then you go the day after on a Sunday and it's packed.
No. Well, and it's even weird too. We were the one time it was just a very weird thing. It's like Disney World's 50th, and it was so packed you couldn't leave because you couldn't get back in. They weren't letting people park hop over, so the park was packed, but the rides were walk-ons. Like everyone was there for everything but rides. Like I took our daughter on, and we rode like the Goofy coaster like 5 times straight. And it was just very strange in the fact the park was absolutely packed, but the rides were all just simply like 20 minutes or less. Even like
that's what it was. That's what it was for Disneyland 70th. Actually, I think a run for both days, like when they first started the celebration, which was May 16th, and then on the actual day of July 17th, like the park itself was crowded. There was tons of people everywhere, but you can go on. It was like a 15-minute wait for Space Mountain.
Yeah, it's a very weird thing when that happens.
Which is insane. But, it's funny because I can almost relate to Oogie Boogie Bash at DCA, and George, you could probably relate to that as well. Even Star Wars nights at Disneyland. Most people do not hit the attractions. They're hitting the special event areas, the meet and greets. So when you hear George say, Space Mountain's 15 minutes, well, people aren't buying the special event ticket price to sit there and go ride Space Mountain. They want to go meet Luke Skywalker or, do some type of Halloween area instead of worrying about an attraction they can hit any other time. So it makes sense. I think
that's what it was for Disneyland 70th, because even we were doing it. I think the only time we did a ride, I think, was It's a Small World. And all the other times it was us just walking around the park doing the key to the kingdom kind of thing to unlock our key to have the specialty pin and everything, and in line at the Emporium trying to get the merch and everything. I tell you what, the Emporium, oh my God, it looked worse than a track meet.
Oh, it was horrible. It was so bad. Oh my God. It was, I kid you not, it was worse than Black Friday in the early 2000s out of Walmart. Oh. And
I mean, I will say the 50th, there were people that got in a fist fight at one of the stores. Like they had a bunch of shopping and some people
I remember that.
Yeah. I was like, my wife, I didn't do the shopping. My wife did. I was like, I'm good. And she was like, some people got into, I forget what it was even over, and they started pushing and someone punched somebody. I'm like, that's a good way to spend your park day.
Oh, sure. When you're being escorted out by Mickey Mouse himself saying, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I've never done Black Friday. Cause like my luck, I would be the one, like, I'm not going to go looking for anything, but someone would just, start something with me and I'd be the guy on TV, like getting arrested or something. I was like, I'm just going to stay home. Like, I don't care that much about a cheap TV or something.
I think George would entertain that idea. I think he would actually go just for the fight.
Oh, dude, I would be instigating it. Like, I would be like poking at somebody and then having them turn around and was like, it was him.
Did you see that guy? You see what he did to you? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh my gosh, you should have heard what he called you.
Run over there and get him real quick. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, why is George down the aisle getting all the bidets? What the hell is wrong with that problem?
Now that's some good Black Friday shopping right there.
Yeah, right there. Costco Black Friday shopping. Kirkland brand.
Kirkland Select, if we're being real.
Okay, Kirkland Select. I'm sorry. Or Kirkland Signature.
Ooh. That's even better.
Yep, exactly. Oh my gosh. Don't get me started. Don't do it. Don't do it. I want to ask Jared first about the picture I have on the screen, the signage. Can you update everybody in the chat, everyone watching, what they've changed on the warning signage for this attraction, other attractions, and what the difference is?
So they updated their safety guidelines. They created a separate category for basically like rides like Stardust, Haggard's Motorbike Adventure. I think Monsters Unchained is on there, and Velocicoaster. And I believe there's one other attraction that's on there. But basically, they changed it to where before you had to be able to just transfer yourself if you were in a wheelchair to the ride vehicle. Now, and like somebody in your party could help you. Now they've changed the wording to where you have to be able to independently walk from your wheelchair or ECV to the ride vehicle. They also updated, and this is more or less, I think, pointing to what the investigation is going to end up showing about this.
Sure.
Is they also put up warnings about if you have weak bone density and like muscle, like basically weak muscles, that you're not supposed to ride these attractions either. Which obviously a team member is not going to be able to look at you and be like, "Hey, you look like you got weak bones. I don't think you can ride this."
Yeah.
But I think it's a way to like just give further warnings here. And essentially, what they're saying is, given this incident that happened, the man that passed away was a paraplegic. They're essentially saying, you can't be a paraplegic, you can't be paralyzed and ride these attractions. You've got to be able to walk to prevent what happened here. But that is the updated. I think they put the signage on Stardust and on Monsters Unchained, but it doesn't affect Hiccup Wing Gliders. Does not have that specification, as that's not as an intense of a ride. But that is what they kind of created, a third category of these more intense rides where that's now a requirement.
So, Jared, let me ask you this, because I think I asked you this before in one of our group chats. Now, you said it was reported that a team member did not assist with the guy, correct?
Universal has not said anything about that. Crump has alleged that that a team member did help.
Okay.
I have been told, the only thing is I can't verify this. I have been told through a couple of different people that how do I put this? I'll put it this way. A team member that was on the clock that was working the attraction definitely did not help him onto it. I'll put it that way. But I can't, I don't know. I can't verify if that's the fact or not. So I think if this went to trial and that was true, Crump is not going to look good, because it could be very obvious that they were playing pretty loose with the truth in terms of what was going on there.
And the reason why I asked that is because to change the like the warnings of like the wording to say that you actually have to be able to, stand up, walk, get in, get out. To me, that's what kind of like what threw my bells and whistles off, to think that did someone other than a loved one assist him, and that's where they had to put it in wording. Because even if someone who is, say, more healthy than the guy that passed, say they didn't have like a spinal injury, they're just like, say, from like the knee down or like from the thigh down, they're, you know, they're immobile, but their upper body strength is stronger, you know, other than their body. Like, so does that disqualify them because they can't walk?
It
So
would in this case. It would in
right.
this,
So,
the
okay,
new rule.
now was, and I know you said the list. Was the Hulk on one of them?
I don't recall the Hulk being on one of them, but the Hulk has those over shoulder restraints
See,
too.
and that's what I was going to get at. To me, I wonder if people could then have a case against Universal to say, why should we, you know, because we are basically paralyzed from the waist down, but we're healthy and we can't do this ride because you choose to have not the proper safety restraints for this particular ride.
Well, they would have. There is case law that they have precedent where essentially they Universal and Disney have been sued over this very thing, and basically they were both times ruled in both Disney and Universal's favor, where essentially safety overrides ADA compliance. So you can have because I guess you could say this is one of the features of Velocicoaster and Stardust Racers is the lap bar, because it gives you that extra thrill at the top of the the crests and things. So I think the reason they changed the wording is because initially it was saying if you had a back injury or neck injury, you're not to ride this. Well, essentially being paralyzed is a back and neck injury.
Yeah.
So this just further sort of brings that out even more and saying, okay, then now you have to be able to walk. I've talked to multiple team members. They were like, I would absolutely, like, I've had many of them say there's no way a team member helped him onto it because they would be fired immediately. They were just like, and I would be utterly shocked if that was the case. But again, from what I've heard, nobody that was on the clock working for Universal at that moment, at that attraction, would have helped him on there.
Well, see, it's interesting you say that, Jared, because I think you're telling me the other day, not yesterday, but the day before when I was on your channel, there's actually a law, a disability law. Can you clarify what that is? So that way it kind of, this law is basically to protect theme parks, in this case, Universal or Disney, against any type of discrimination lawsuit.
I don't know the specific law, but basically I'll have to find it. Slimer brought it up on a theme park episode, but there's been lawsuits over this. Somebody sued Disney and Universal over, basically, I think at the time it was due to people who had, one of them was somebody that was paralyzed, and another one was somebody that had they didn't have an arm. They had what do you want to call it? An appendage. Prosthetic. Yeah. And they were told they couldn't wear the prosthetic onto the ride, and they were sued. And basically, the courts ruled in both separate instances that essentially the safety of the rider, if it's deemed that it's too dangerous, then that takes precedence over ADA. So you do have to make your rides ADA compliant, but on these coasters like this, where I think what's going to end up showing here is, I'm guessing from that language of the muscle and the bone density, which I found very interesting, I'm going to bet that the investigation is going to end up showing that Universal's ride didn't malfunction, and you got to look at what are the other factors then. Well, you look at the state in which, the victim was in, and one of the things is when you are paralyzed, this is just from, and again, deepest condolences to the man and his family. It's a very sad situation, but when you're paralyzed, your bone density is lower, you have muscle atrophy, and I think basically in those situations, my wife was saying they tell you to keep your head back on this ride.
Sure.
And he just didn't have the muscle strength to keep himself back, which led to this. So I think they're basically just getting very specific on the language there, but they do have the ADA compliance there. And you got to think too, Universal and Disney have sharks for lawyers. So I don't think they'd be making any of these changes sort of willy-nilly.
No.
They're going after case law and ADA stuff.
Yeah, I think they went the right route as far as like the wording, because it says it in a way where it doesn't sound like discrimination wise, but it's just for the sole purpose of safety precautions because of an incident like this that doesn't happen again. So basically they're saving their own ass.
Yeah. And it's kind of a good way too. It saves Universal, but it also saves the guests. God willing, hopefully never an accident like this happens, or someone in that condition gets seriously hurt. I'm glad in a way that Universal will be able to kindly explain and deny people that kind of does not fit the criteria. So it's not to be mean, it's not to be discriminatory, it's a safety thing. So in a way, it's more of them trying to protect you than you getting hurt and then going through the situation that Kevin, his family, the Ben Crump and his team, Universal, and the state's going through, and even Mack rides themselves.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it kind of comes down to my wife and I record our episode for the podcast, comes out tomorrow on this, and she made a good point. My wife did, and she said, not every ride is for every person. And,
no.
And at the end of the day, a ride is not worth you potentially dying. And especially when you're talking about these coasters, like Universal, like Disney doesn't have these coasters like Universal has, but there are other theme parks that some guests want these really thrilling coasters. They want to feel like more and more thrilling. You're seeing more and more speed and height drops and things. And you're going to have a segment of people that want to do those, but then you're also going to have a segment that are naturally just being like, that's too much for me, and also physically can't handle that.
Sure.
And I think this is why this stuff becomes important, of understanding your, what physical ailments you may or may not have. And I brought up too, Mission Space. There was when that first opened, there was a 6-year-old boy that died after riding it.
I remember that.
It was due to an unknown heart condition he had, which is horribly sad. That especially like anybody dying on a ride, but especially like a kid, I can't even imagine. But it's like sometimes you don't know that there's an underlying health issue, and things like this can happen. And so a lot of times just how things go is, warnings come about after something happens. And these, I think you make up these warnings here, understanding of this stuff, but did they think that somebody that was a paraplegic would try and ride this? I think maybe the thinking was the initial warnings were there enough to cover this. Then this incident happens. So you just need to further bring these rules out more, which is kind of the way that, these things tend to go. Hopefully this type of thing never happens again.
Yeah.
But it's sad that it did. And the fact that, and the thing too, is I know not a lot of people talked about this, and I know you're going to talk about a certain person's comment in a moment, but I can only imagine as well the family and their grief. But like, I would also imagine, I know it's a major corporation, but like there's people that have worked on this attraction, that worked the attraction, that built it, that I'm sure they probably had a lot of sleepless nights just being like, did I design something, or did I work on something that killed somebody?
Exactly.
And I'm sure that was tough to deal with.
Yeah.
And the not knowing part of that, and just the initial response to it.
Definitely. And like Jared said, I have a post on the screen from a good friend of the channel, Theme Park Obsession. I always run into him at the parks. Great guy, great content creator, puts out amazing videos. But his comment here, I just want to read it out and then read the person under it that, in a way, how I see it, is personally attacking him. And before I go forward, I want to remind everybody watching, when you put a comment on social media, I'm going to be very clear on this. No one has the right to sit there and personally attack you. I don't care how big your channel is. I don't care how small your channel is. I don't care if you have 1 million followers or 10 followers. You do not have the right to attack somebody for posting a comment. Social media is supposed to be somewhere you can post a comment, people can react to it in a positive manner, and come out with their own opinions about the person's comment. There is no reason whatsoever there should be personal attacks. So I just want to clarify that, because I think a lot of people forget that. and they just go at each other. And this is another prime example of that. So Theme Park Obsession says, sorry for the language, but this is the biggest load of bullshit. Universal, Disney, SeaWorld, Six Flags, and so many other players prioritize safety at their parks. You are statistically safer at a theme park than doing most daily activities. When it comes to roller coasters, the number gets even crazier. Nearly 40,000 people die in car accidents in 2024 in the US, and you're trying to convince your audience that you felt unsafe at one of Universal's parks. So be real. And Jenny Nicholson replied, she said, but Universal has long made it really clear that they don't care about making their parks accessible, which is completely wrong. And based on my recent visit, they didn't seem very concerned with my safety in general. So I'm really not surprised. So I want to address that comment from Jenny real quick. First of all, I think she's completely wrong with the accessibility part. Even on Disney's defense as well. I think the theme parks do a very great job about accessibility in the parks for people that have, handicap, medical issues. I think they take care of every guest regardless. On the second part, both companies, they make sure that safety is their number one priority. And again, we do not have the full autopsy report from Kevin's death yet. So again, to this day, to this very minute, we are still speculating on what exactly the blunt force trauma was and other injuries Kevin sustained that led to his death. So to make comments like that, it's like, okay, well, Jenny, to be respectful, if you don't want to ride the attraction, do not do so. If you feel unsafe, that's fine. I respect your feelings about it. But if other people want to ride, don't sit there and go on social media and start demonizing people that may want to ride it, that are kind of iffy about riding it. Am I wrong for saying something like that?
No, I mean, the way in which that's phrased, you want to talk about. She'd also said in a I think a part of that tweet thread she had was that Universal was putting profits over people's lives, which is the same thing that Ben Crump had said.
Yeah.
The idea that Universal would open this ride back up unchanged, with that amount of risk, if there was any possibility that report was going to come back and say that something happened on that ride, that is insane. If the thinking there is they're thinking profits over that. And I think when you're talking about if they are concerned with profits, which every business is, Disney and Universal want to make money, it also goes in their favor to run safe theme parks. And so, I've had issues with the way Disney's decisions on things, but I've never once felt Disney compromises on the safety of their guests. Maybe on maintenance things, but that's not meaning the rides aren't safe. That just means things go down more often and they have to go fix them. But it's quite the accusation to throw out there, especially being so there's no specific thing to it. Like, you're just saying you felt unsafe. Well, meaning what? Like, well, how did you feel unsafe? Just because, there's no, it's just very, it just seems like kind of knee-jerk reaction off of going on this. And she later even said, too, she hasn't ridden Stardust Racers. So it's not like she went on this ride or tried to ride it and felt unsafe either. So it's just sort of like, what is she exactly alluding to that made her feel unsafe is a question I guess I would have.
Yeah, George.
Okay, so my take on it is I feel like with social media, I'll speak on this first. With social media, you can have two ends of a spectrum where, everyone can have their own opinion. And I think depending on how things are preceded in social media, it's very hard to, you can do your best to kind of decipher what each person is saying, but sometimes it can get very difficult just by reading your own interpretation of words rather than hear it verbally. In this particular case, yeah, I feel like to say, that, they don't take care of the guests like they would in the roundabout way. What it sounds like to me is that, the guest safety, whether, they, end up in the hospital or even death, they don't take that as a priority and what have you. I personally don't see it that way. I don't think really Universal, Disney, what have you, would ever put themselves in a position that they say, hey, we're just going to build something, and whether something or not goes wrong, oh well, that's on them, not on us, kind of thing. Because Universal's not going to want to have to deal with investigation. Universal's not going to want to have to deal with paperwork and that kind of stuff. I don't think any company would. So my thing is, I personally don't feel like that the theme parks do, and that's not me just being a bias because I love the theme parks. I just feel that anytime that I'm in the parks, guest safety does seem like it is, a top priority, for the companies. Otherwise, they'd be losing their business.
Yeah. Sure. And I want to read these two comments, both of them from Wheels89. The first comment was, "Oh my God, thank you," or "Thank God this got brought up. Universal doesn't give a crap lately, and I told you last year that they do not take accommodations seriously." Interesting. I don't know if I 100% agree with that, but even the past year, the accommodations have been so poorly constructed. The lines are so narrow, and for wheelchair-bound people, we can't fit in properly. Guest relations even said, "Leave my chair at home." What do you think about that comment?
Well, I think if you're talking like DAS stuff with Disney, I mean, I would say Disney has gotten a lot more strict on that the past year and a half because they made all those changes to DAS policy. Whereas Universal is now actually easier to get. And now I don't have any firsthand experience myself and my family. I don't have anybody that's disabled, so I don't know what that process is like other than just hearing from other people. But I have heard Universal's is much more accommodating versus Disney's, adding a lot more stress in terms of there's, the system at Disney is designed for seemingly people with autism and similar type of disabilities now. And even some of those people are being denied DAS. In terms of itself, I mean, on Stardust and also Hiccup Wing Gliders, they added seating for larger guests. And that has been a criticism of Universal in the past. But they do, and especially like if you're talking about Monsters Unchained, they have seats in the middle that are bigger than, say, they were for Forbidden Journey. So if the criticism is accessibility for like larger guests, I think Universal has made improvements there just off of some of the newer attractions and the newer things they're doing. I can't speak to like the width of lanes for wheelchairs and things of that nature, but they do say that if people need help, you're supposed to go get a team member. But again, I can't speak to it directly, so I'm not really sure there.
And I can't either, but George, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, now on the other end of the spectrum, now I don't know if anything had changed since then, but speaking of Disney's, like for instance, with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Now, again, cast members are not allowed to, touch guests to get them in and get them out. Completely understandable. But for a ride like that, there was actually a video that I think it was like a couple years ago that went viral where a person was handicapped. They were in a wheelchair and they had to get themselves in and out of their chair to get into the ride vehicle, which is the train.
Yeah.
But the actual seating and getting yourself into the train isn't that much different than if a person was completely healthy getting in. All it does is they take you to where the train is completely stopped separately, privately, and then they can get into the train. Where I don't understand where with Runaway Railway that they could not have accommodated a handicap accessible vehicle like how they do with like It's a Small World, where you could actually push the wheelchair on and connect it, because or something of that nature. But then again, too, Runaway Railway is a little bit more jerky when it comes to things like that with It's a Small World. So you never really know what the red and yellow tape is, depending on what the ride is.
Well, see, it's interesting you say the red and yellow tape with someone, like you said, with Small World, just taking their wheelchair or their electric scooter onto the ride vehicle itself. The only thing I can say about that, George, the way I kind of see it is if let's say they strap down their wheelchair or their electric scooter to the ride vehicle, there's a spot, they wheel them in and they're belted down. The Disney or Universal and any other aspects, they can't guarantee that the person in that wheelchair or that electric scooter is not going to fall out of their own, their own wheelchair. So you're right on that with the red and yellow tape. There is no way to kind of know for sure. But it's interesting because Brian made a good point, and we've talked about this on Orange Go 55, and we've talked about it on your channel, George, as well. Disney made it more strict because people took advantage of DOS. That's why Disney had to change their DOS rules, and it's a lot more stricter. I actually talked to a friend that I work with at work, and his girlfriend kind of has some issues where they have to get the DOS pass. And he said, compared to before, it's like a arm and two legs to get to. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's a lot more strict now. I do agree. It was being abused. I know, at least at Disney World, I knew people that were openly abusing it. And then you even had TikToks and people talking about tell them you have certain things to get it and such. So it was being abused. I also think on some level they kind of made that so they made more room for that Premier Pass, because that came along a little bit after they. I'm not saying that was the whole reason, but I do think that they had a problem with DAS. But also, if you were going to introduce another level of lightning lanes, you needed to make a little extra space for that potentially. Maybe that's a conspiracy theory on my end. There's nothing to support that other than the timing of that, but it was being abused on some level. For sure. But that's the thing, too, is I've only heard it through people on commenting and sending emails of saying that even for the people that it was designed for, that some of them have been denied. So, but like I said, I've never gone through the process, so I can't speak to it.
Yeah, my coworker, he says it's like trying to apply for a U.S. passport.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you have to buy your tickets and then do it. So a lot of people, it's like if they don't get it, they end up canceling their trips.
Yep.
So it is at a level of stress, because I think you have to do it. Is it like 90 days for your trip or something like that?
Something. Yeah. There's like a window that you have to apply to make sure it gets enough time for them to clear you.
Right.
No,
well, I know at Universal you can still get, if you have the there's some sort of nationwide accepted thing you can do where Universal, like the day of, I know the day of at Universal, you can still go get one very easily. But they also accept that there's a type of pass that they'll accept for like a whole year where you don't have to renew it.
That's interesting. So I want to ask you, Jared, first, since you're on the East Coast and you do a lot of East Coast content. We're looking at pictures of Rip Red Rocket being ripped down. It's almost to the point where it's almost completely gone. They just have the lift hill and part of the station still there. Most of it's gone, though. I want to ask you, because we've talked about this, and I know everyone's favorite attraction out there is Supercharged, which everyone hates. But you mentioned that they were thinking, Universal was thinking about building possibly an East Coast version of Hollywood Drift. And I have to ask you again, why would they do that when there's already going to be the West Coast version, which makes sense because the franchise takes, it takes part in Los Angeles, and that's where Universal Hollywood is. Why would it make sense on the East Coast if they decide to build almost a carbon copy, not exact copy?
Yeah. By the way, all I can see is Optimus pointing, and I love it.
Oh, I know. That's a cool picture, though.
Optimus Prime. Now I want to talk about Optimus. No, I agree. I've said the whole time, Fast and Furious is a West Coast story in the movies. All I know, I don't know the reasoning, so I can speculate on that. I have just been basically told it is going to be Fast and Furious coaster going in here.
Sure.
It's going in the New York area, which again, that doesn't really fit Fast and Furious, but I suppose you could create a storyline around it. I know people like on my channel, especially people are like, I don't want Fast and Furious, which I get. But I think if you accept the fact that Universal is going to feature Fast and Furious in their theme parks because it is an IP that they own, it does well at the movie theaters in terms of most of it is international, but it still is a draw for people. I think if I were to speculate, knowing Supercharged is not a loved attraction, we'll put it that way. Universal is very well aware of that. If you're going to put in a new coaster, and let's be honest, if it's a great coaster, the IP doesn't really make a huge amount of difference. Like you could put, it's kind of like Tron. I mean, I don't think people like Tron over in Magic Kingdom because they're in love with the Tron franchise. It's because they like the ride itself. They could have named it kind of whatever, and it's still probably.
And especially because of what the theme of Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift is going to be. It really, honestly, of what we were told by Universal people at LA Comic-Con, it really has nothing to do with the movies.
Right. And
it's actually to pay tribute to the stunt people in the industry.
Which could give you an indication that's what they do with it on the East Coast as well, to kind of have a uniform story. So if I were to guess, they're going to feature Fast and Furious. It might as well be on a high-speed roller coaster. The IP won't matter as much, and then that frees you up from Supercharged, where you could do something else with that building, and you still have Fast and Furious in the parks, but it's not like you have to watch Vin Diesel grab a helicopter and think like that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and it doesn't make sense. Well, it's funny because
Remy Diaz, good point. Fast and Furious Miami Drift, although it wouldn't make sense in the New York area, but yeah, I mean, that's a cool title for a movie, though.
I like that. I really do.
Call it Fast and Furious Miami Drift, but in New York.
That's in the subtitle. Miami Drift in New York. You're like, wait a minute. They ride from Miami all the way up to New York to do something.
I was gonna say Fast and Furious the subway.
I mean, let's be honest though, with the franchise, they've gone to space. So like it doesn't really matter that much if it is New York or West Coast, because like it's so ridiculous what it is now. Like they started out stealing car stereos in the first movie, and now you've got them like they all are like Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belts and they're superheroes and they're breaking walls. They're pulling safes down the streets in Brazil. You know, having a ride based in the New York area is probably the least far-fetched thing they could do in terms of that franchise.
No. You're absolutely right. So I don't know. My whole thing is, and we've talked about it on Orange Grove 55 a lot, is I just don't want the same situation where we have with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And George knows exactly where I'm going with this, because why would, like in March, when George is basically going to be my tour guide for 2 weeks, why in the heck do I want to go into Magic Kingdom to see Star Wars Galaxy's Edge when it's a carbon copy of the one at Disneyland? Why would I want to do that? It's the same thing here with this attraction. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different because it is a bigger footprint, but it's still the same IP. It might even be the same ride vehicles. It's possibly going to be made by the same company, Intimate. So
it is an Intimate coaster going in. So it's the same company. Yeah.
So that's my only thinking and logic behind it. Personally, for me, I said, well, why couldn't we do a Ghostbusters, or why couldn't we do a Jaws roller coaster? Because Jaws is a classic IP. It just celebrated its 50th anniversary, and now it's an exhibit somewhere in Los Angeles where Steven Spielberg did the ribbon cutting for it. So why can't we do something with that IP?
For me, here's the thing. Like, you know how I feel about carbon copy, on two different coasts with the same carbon copy of a ride, where that's where I loved about Cars Land. Like when I lived over on the East Coast, me traveling to California for Disneyland, it was something that I can get at Disneyland that I can't get at Walt Disney World. So what would make me want to fly all the way cross country to do the same roller coaster that I could just do out here. I feel like normally that is usually the case. In this case, for this particular coaster, as I said, kind of going back to LA Comic-Con, the way that they were describing this roller coaster,
Yes,
they were blank. They were just like, this is all about the coaster. It really has nothing really to do with the IP. So I think for Universal to really honestly, and I can't believe I'm saying this, to waste their time with changing up an IP when really it has nothing to even do with the coaster itself. It's just a thrilling coaster. I feel like is a waste of time, and also a dishonoring of any of the IPs, really.
yeah,
Because I would want them to do a more immersive kind of attraction with the IPs of like Ghostbusters or Jaws, to just kind of throw the name and say, okay, here's a roller coaster and we're done. Me personally, I would rather them do that with Fast and the Furious, because after 10 plus movies, I'm so sick and tired of seeing them. Like, I'm so sick and tired of the franchise. I'm tired of seeing them fly a car out of one building into the next, and they're all in one piece, not a scratch on them. I mean, let's get realistic here. It's just like those movies. Let me just put it to you, Blaine. Those movies piss me off. Like, I can't stand them anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if some level it is they've been told of we want Fast and Furious featured because it's a franchise that makes money, and this is the park's way of being like, fine, we'll put Fast and Furious on here, but we're not going to make this like a Dom Toretto fest.
That was the vibe I was getting. Like, when they were, you would think with it being Universal, they would be like hyping the people up for this coaster.
Right.
I mean, I went live on it, and I have the proof is in the pudding. They really weren't. They were hyping it to an extent, but they're like, okay, just to let you guys know, there's no really big immersive storyline that's based off of the story of Fast and Furious. This is really to just pay tribute to the stunt people of the industry in Hollywood that was a part of Fast and Furious. And that was the demeanor they were giving. They were not giving that this is going to be an immersive Fast and Furious franchise kind of ride.
Yeah. And that kind of bugs me, because I watched George's live stream when he was filming all that, and I was very disappointed on what I heard, especially like George just said with the storyline and everything. Everything Universal has done in the past, they've hyped up. This is literally the only attraction that I know of to date that they really haven't hyped it up when they had an opportunity to do so. So now it begs the question, because what was that conference like a week and a half ago, George? 2 weeks tops. And now we're seeing online that people are posting that for the final Fast and Furious movie, they don't have a set cast, they don't have a set script. They don't even know if they're gonna come out with the movie, blah 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 blah. And I'm not saying if any of that's true, but you know, it's kind of interesting those comments come out 2 weeks after this conference, that again Universal had the perfect opportunity to hype up this attraction out here in Hollywood, and maybe, and I just say maybe, you know, give some type of a little hint that they could have said, oh well, with Hollywood Drift, Hollywood is not the only location the Fast team is looking at setting up shop. They could have said something like that, possibly hinting to, you know, Rip Ride Rocket's replacement.
I will say I do wish that they had a lot more info, and that was the other thing too. I know I'm going off topics here, but just to give an example of what you were saying, they dropped the Fan Fest pre-sale tickets the day before of that presentation, and they announced that there's going to be a mixed blend of Scooby-Doo and the monsters, classic Universal monsters, you know, into the lower lot and everything, which was great. But then when they have the presentation, when they mentioned Fan Fest, that was their big reveal. It was what they already announced the day before.
Yeah.
Like, for one day, why announce that kind of stuff? And then, as I said, for Fast and Furious, they didn't hype it up at all.
No.
I bet you the reason they may not have hyped it up, if you think about it, they're going to do like one more movie, maybe. It's kind of at the end of its franchise run at this point.
Yeah.
And also, I think they know internally that the Parks fans don't care at all about Fast and Furious.
No.
So if it's being told, hey, we need to feature Fast and Furious for whatever reason, corporates maybe, who knows? It will make sense to downplay that a bit. And also, you can undersell, over deliver, make the coaster the main part of this, and underplaying Fast and Furious, knowing that it's not that popular in the parks and the movies are coming to an end. So in 10 years, people they're going to care even less about this, but this can always be more of a tribute to stunt people. But if the ride, let's be honest, if the ride's good in Hollywood, it's good in the East Coast, it's not going to really matter what the IP is very much. They're still going to be like, yeah, let's go check out the coaster because it's awesome. I think that could be the reason they're kind of doing that. That's me speculating a bit, but I do know Universal does say, like, Fast and Furious isn't like nobody's knocking down their doors being like, I need more Dom Toretto.
Yeah.
I will say, though, because I think with the last movie, it's going to be, I think it's a two-parter. It's supposed to be a part 1 and a part 2. And I can't wait not to see it. So, I
think we should all see it and have our reactions and then wear our gold chains with our tank tops. I think we should.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But and honestly, too, to your point, Jared, of what you were saying, and then down the road, they appeased, the executives, the higher up people in Universal, and then down the road, it's just a coaster. They can really retheme it to anything, with a new hot franchise that eventually comes out in 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
No, and you're not wrong about that, George, because at least on the West Coast, the East Coast, they can kind of buffer between that. But on the West Coast here, since our park, every square inch of our park matters, I kind of agree with what Jared's saying. 10, 15 years down the road, if no one cares about the IP, it's more that the attraction is there. So it gives guests another thing to do in the park, regardless of the IP of it. So I could see the IP changing for ours eventually, but the fact that the infrastructure is already there for the ride, that's literally, that's the most thing that counts. Universal Orlando kind of has that buffer because obviously they're a hell of a lot bigger, so they can kind of buffer a little bit on, kind of dragging their feet on changing the IP compared to us. If Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift's not getting people on it, then obviously Universal will say, oh, okay, well, maybe it's nothing wrong with the actual attraction. Maybe just the IP's not attracting people anymore.
We got to think, too, they could look at this as well. Like you're lightly theming a new coaster after this IP. It's going to be done before the new movie comes out. Then you have cross-promotion in the theme parks, make a big splash about that, see how the movie performs. If it does really well, then it maybe has some longevity and sticking around. If it doesn't do as well, the theming of it stays for 5 to 10 years, and then it becomes something different, but the coaster stays the same. Like, I could see like a little bit of that synergy word that people like to throw around being a little bit at play here, because I think that's also could explain why we got supercharged. Because I'm like George, and we talked this before, I want to know how that ride was approved. Like, I want to see every moment where they're like in a meeting and they're like, what do you guys think? They're like, good. And then they like take that final ride on and they're like, I think it's great. Let's just release it right now. And you're like, what the hell? How did this happen? Like, I feel like it was just corporate people being like, we got to have Fast and Furious. And they're like, okay, fine, here you go. And this could be the same thing.
Because you're right. It just doesn't go by just one meeting. How many steps it has to take before it actually gets open?
Yeah.
There was not one part of the process where someone said, okay, this really sucks ass.
Someone watched that pre-show and went, yeah, I think that's cool. And they're like,
oh my gosh. Well,
you know who that was? That was Vin Diesel.
That's only it makes sense. Vin Diesel from top to bottom is just like, I need to be on top of. I can't. Nobody's taller than Vin Diesel. Put me on top. I'm like, all right, put Vin on top of the truck and whatever. What about this scene? Like, well, I need to look cooler. Like, okay.
Well, to be honest with you, and it's not to discredit anybody, but if you go on YouTube and you look for like behind the scenes where they're in the soundstage filming these scenes for Supercharged, you can kind of tell, like, freaking Vin Diesel, some of the actors, they're like unhappy to be there. So it's like,
not only that, like The Rock and Vin Diesel hate each other.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
Would you even see the performance of Vin Diesel where he's like, driver, get them out of here? Like, wow. Like, I mean, yeah, sure. Like, he's just, you might as well give him like a cot and a pillow and an alarm clock.
Dude, my favorite fun fact about Fast and Furious franchise is that as it's gone along, they all have clauses in their contract where they can't lose a fight. So when The Rock comes in, he starts becoming like the big, like, oh, The Rock's in. So then Vin Diesel's like, oh, I could never lose a fight, which is why when they fought and one they fought on, it was a standoff. Neither one of them lost the fight. Yeah. And then I think Tyrese has it now. And so they keep bringing new people in because somebody has to lose fights in these movies. But then all these actors, you got like 10 actors are like, I can't lose. And you're like, okay, bring in Scott Eastwood. And they're like, oh, okay. And it's just like, it's like a 1980s movie making in a 2000s setting.
And then you have Ludacris. It's just like, I'm just glad that I'm working and getting a paycheck.
Yeah. Somehow he went from the mechanic. I don't know if you remember this. He was the mechanic. I think in Fast 2 to where he's like a world-class hacker. And you're like, what? Oh, wait a minute. How did that happen? Like, I'm so confused.
Yeah.
You go to night classes or something? Like, I thought he was doing car engines.
Pretty much. So I don't know how that's going to happen.
I just assume my local mechanic is also a world-class hacker. I just figure that's the case.
Well, just don't leave your laptop in the car and you'll be fine.
He hacks into the NSA. Like, oh, come on, man.
Yeah, and then the SWAT team shows up. Why? Well, I shouldn't say it. I'm going to behave myself, but I think you know where I was going. I won't say it. I
got defense if they come in.
I'm sure you do.
Water pressure.
God. Good Lord. Don't. Jared, don't.
There's a scene. Have you got, oh, by the way, before we go on, have you seen Hobbs versus Shaw?
Yes.
Or Hobbs and Shaw?
Yeah, I actually went to go into theaters to see that. Lord knows why, but I did.
I actually enjoyed the movie for what it was. Like, it's just you shut your brain off. But that part where The Rock picks up that concrete bench and it's just like they're like flexing at each other in those jail cells. Yeah. So that would be me with the bidet. I just pick up the toilet and I use the water pressure, and then that's part of my escape in the movie that I'm in my head.
Oh, of course you would do something like that.
They'd be like, "How did he get away? Like, he sprayed a bidet at us." I'm like, "Oh no."
Oh Lord. Good God. I'm not engaging in your comment. Hell with you. Just kidding.
Hobbs and Shaw is a decent movie though. Just like a complete turn your brain off, like just watching people do ridiculous stuff. It's kind of.
I will say that it was a little bit refreshing to see that then just focused on them two rather than deal with like the whole franchise.
And I love Jason Statham. I love Statham. Yeah. I think he's so underrated in terms of like an action actor.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. He kind of reminds me, so because I've always liked Matt Damon in the Bourne movies, he kind of reminds me of the British Bourne.
Oh yeah, and he does all those little like The Beekeeper, and if you've ever seen Snatched, he's so good. Yeah, I feel like he's always just like, "What's the job? What's the job?" And he's just
the Transporter movies.
Oh, the Transporter is great. Yeah, he just like barely says anything. He's like, "Do you do this?" Like, "How much money you got?" Okay, and then he just beats people up, and you're like, "I'm in. I think that's fun."
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's the type of actor I would want to be. I don't have to do a lot of acting. Like, you just do a bunch of this stuff, look cool, and that's it. And you're like, okay, I'm in.
Oh, if they're going to do something like a Fast and the Furious kind of stunt show like they do Bourne,
dude, that would be awesome.
I'm cool with that. I'd rather it be like more of a stunt show than
that's a good point. If they wanted to do that, I mean, I love the Bourne stunt show. It's one of my I think it's one of the best. It's right up there with Indiana Jones in terms of like how good I will go do it every time we're in the park. But you could do something on the same level. Yeah. For if you wanted to feature Fast and Furious, it's almost built for a stunt show to do something like that. But although it is so ridiculous, it might be kind of difficult to do some of the stuff.
True.
I will say, before we switch over to the Bourne stunt show, I love that show. I just have one negative piece of thing on it. The pre-show, like, takes
it's long.
forever.
It's long.
Takes forever.
Yeah. The other beef I have, this is just me. I don't like, because I have different people playing Jason Bourne, you know.
Yeah.
It always bugs me when the dude they have is like not jacked. It drives me crazy. Like, I want to see, like, he's good, but they have one dude that's like, he's just not very big. And I'm like, I just want that dude to be jacked. I want him to look, you know, like, you're just like, that's Jason Bourne. Because in the last Bourne movie that they did,
he was ripped.
Matt Damon got in really good shape. I was
Yeah,
like,
he was ripped.
okay. Yeah.
Speaking of that, I cannot wait for the next one. I know he's going to do another one. Don't know.
Yeah, I did hear they were going to.
Yeah. And it might be his last.
Probably. He's up to, what is he, in his 50s now?
He's
Yeah.
in his 50s, yeah.
Yeah. But I want to ask you guys about this. OG 55. Him and George love calling Josh tomorrow Daddy Josh, and the fact that now
I can't do it. I can't call another man daddy, but I know it is funny.
Yeah. Now he's rumored to be the next CEO. George, I'm going to start with you on this one, since you said early on that you chased him down Main Street and took a picture with them, even though his security team tried to shove you away.
Just two Italian bros walking down Main Street.
Yeah, pretty much. What do you think about him even being this close to the next CEO spot?
Well, first off, I have to say, if he does get into the CEO spot, I'm calling him King Daddy.
Oh, God.
King Daddy D.
Oh, God.
That's his username.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at this point. I felt like in the very beginning of the race, Dana Walden I felt like she kind of had it in the bag. I felt like the answer was there before they even made the announcement. But as time progressed, you kind of saw less and less of Dana and more of Josh. And I feel like that's why Josh gave us such a banger show for the Parks panel last year at D23, because he really wants to impress the board. He wants to impress Iger. He wants to impress the fans. This is all about his image of becoming the next CEO. Now, that can kind of go one of two ways. If he does become CEO, does he keep all his promises that he was willing to give to us while on the verge of trying to become CEO? Or if he doesn't get the position, chances are he'll leave the company because he's not moving forward higher up on the food chain. That's what happened with Tom Staggs. I mean, even though I personally feel like Tom Staggs got the shitty short end of the stick, like he got played dirty.
Yeah,
he did. Actually promised that position. So I know that's a little bit different, but chances are tomorrow might end up leaving the company, which would then say, okay, we need a new CEO and another Parks chairman. I mean, they're going to need another Parks chairman regardless. So is everything that's set in place by the time it starts, with the concept to actually construction, building it up, completing it, and opening it up, by the time all this occurs, because we're going to get an answer next year. Will anything that's in the pipeline end up getting hindered because of it? And because when you're dealing with a Parks person who is now the top contender in the race for CEO, that's where all this comes into play.
Well, see, it's interesting you mentioned that, George, because as I'm playing this video from Disneyland's actual 70th birthday and we were right in front, that day I was playing George's adopted son to get into the kind of so-called media area. But, one thing me and Jerry talked about the other night on his channel was that the fact that Demaro, compared to Dana Walden, loves to be in the center of attention, loves to be in front of cameras, loves to be, in the public view. Because the way I see it in the last several years,
if I go on Ancestry.com and he and I are related.
Possible.
You better start calling lawyers.
You should check that out.
Yeah, you should.
Speaking of, I will just say, I did find out through my uncle started doing lineage years ago.
Yeah.
I'm a direct descendant of Winston Churchill
What?
And what's his Nate? What's the Nathan Drake games? The guy that was the feature of the
yeah.
that Explorer. I'm direct descendant of him as well. I'm trying to remember the
Really?
name. Yeah, I found that out and I was like, that makes sense. I like cigars
Wow.
and negotiating. But yeah,
Interesting.
I thought that was kind of cool. It was like I forget what it's on my granddad's side, but I was like,
Sure.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'd probably do it and find out that I'm a descendant of Buddy Hackett.
Oh, there you go. Good God. Oh my gosh. No, but the fact that George or see, now you got me messed up. No, the fact that Damaro and Iger, their offices are in Burbank, literally right down the road from Universal, and it seems like they're visiting Disneyland a lot more in the last couple years, quite frequently, makes me wonder if Iger's kind of walking around with him, asking him questions. Hey, if you take over for me as the next CEO, what's your plans? What's your ideas? Kind of do what George does now with his channel. Do kind of like a walk and talk, and George does that very well with either him and his wife Abby, or OG might join him once in a while, or maybe even Webba or Theme Park Wizard. And George will literally walk around the park and point stuff out live, and he'll do that.
So Bob and Josh have been going on day dates, is what you're saying?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Strolling hand in hand.
Yeah, hand in hand. So it makes me wonder if, Damaro really is going to be the next CEO because of that type of behavior.
I mean, it would make sense. I'll tell you, I think I said it when we were talking the other night. I think it makes the most sense for it to be Josh for a couple of reasons. First off, the parks makes the most money in the entire company. Even out of it's more than double of the other two divisions. So it makes sense to have the guy that's in charge of the biggest division that makes most money become CEO. There is the unknown about how him handling the movie and TV side, but it's also a less risk of him taking that over versus Walden, who knows the TV and movie side, which is a shrinking demo. We are, Hollywood's shrinking. A lot of question about streaming. Linear TV is shrinking. What does she know about parks? That's a lot bigger risk of her taking over and not knowing the parks than I think Josh is. And it's also the optics of Chapek he never made any sense to me, even if he was a great CEO or leader or whatever. He just was not good in front of a camera. He didn't have that charm. Josh does. He has all the very Bob Iger-esque about going in front of a camera. He's likable. When I talk to him, I don't have any I don't think he actually cared what I had to say, but he acted like it. Yeah. I got off of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway on opening day, and he was like, what do you think about the ride? He was meeting a bunch of people, and I was like, oh, it was good. And then he was like, he stopped. He goes, no, like, what'd you really think? Do you have any critiques? And like, he was just looking at me like, I care what you, and it was just me and him. And I'm like, this dude is good because I don't think he actually cares that much. But maybe he does. So I think from an optics standpoint, he makes sense. So I'm not actually surprised. That's been the biggest rumor out there for the last year and a half. It's going to be D'Amaro. I've also said I think it makes more sense personally that somebody from the outside coming in, but that may not be a situation where you may not have other CEOs that really want to step into Disney right now either.
No.
With a lot of question marks around the company in terms of nothing I would say is completely like, yeah, the parks are making money, but they got a lot of competition from Universal that's only going to increase. Streaming is a big question mark. Hollywood's contracting. So I think a dual CEO setup would work best, but I think if they're going with internal candidates, I actually think Josh makes more sense.
It does, but in a way, like you said, with the dual CEO, I think both him and Dana Walden would be perfect for the co-CEO spot. That way, Dana Walden can handle the media side, and Josh can focus on the park side. Because no offense to Josh, in a way, I think he would be better equipped to handle the park side of the company than he would trying to do the park side and the media side. I think if that was the case and the dual CEO option wasn't something they wanted to go towards, I think both sides of the company may or may not suffer. And I'm not trying to I'm not trying to shut Josh down before he even starts, but just from what I've seen of his actions in the park, like George said, it's something that if he does get power of the company, are we going to see stuff that was promised all of a sudden canceled or changed or modified or less of what they promised? Because the way I see things, here's how I look at it. Prices are going up with merch, with food, with ticket sales, with magic keys, with experiences, less entertainment in the parks. The only good thing I could say at the moment is the fact that we are starting to see part of Disneyland Forward happen with Avengers Campus expanding, with Pandora getting ready, hopefully in the next couple years, start to get built. The Coco Dark ride, just all the updates in downtown Disney, the fact that they want to build a 7-story or 8-story parking structure for future expansion. They're looking at Toy Story parking lot for possible theme park expansion. They're looking at the Simba parking lot for expansion. So the company is doing right. It's the fact that once Iger leaves, and I'm not saying Iger was the golden child of CEOs. He's had his mistakes. I'm not going to deny that.
I don't think Iger's been a great CEO personally. So yeah, you won't get any complaints from me.
No, but what I'm trying to get at is this man right here on screen. If he's the next CEO without a dual CEO option, will he be able to handle the park side and the media side?
I think another thing that a Disney CEO needs, and Shan Norani, if I got your name wrong, I'm sorry. She said, or they said, but the studios is heart of Walt Disney. It is where all the source material for the parks comes from. Historically, yes. I think, like Eisner, when he came in, he casted a vision of where he wanted to take the company. I think that has been sorely missing from Disney. And even Giant Peter Venture said he's never seen Dana Walden talk, nor have I. I don't recall a time I've ever heard her talk.
Yeah, I don't even know what she sounds like, to be honest with you.
Right. And so there was also in that article from Bloomberg where they said that each person head of parks, Josh, Dana Walden, Jimmy Patario, and Alan Bergman gave presentations about their end of the business, and all the people there said that Josh's was the most inspiring.
Yeah,
I think Josh has the potential to be on camera, to sway people to buy into a vision, and I think if he does have a vision, then he's able to really portray that. I think that is important for a CEO to do. I think this is what Chapek was missing as CEO. So I think from the optics end, he has the things you're looking for a CEO. His big question, I don't think he's ran the parks great, but how much of that is Josh and how much of that has been oversight? Like the C-suite, Bob Iger, Jeff Vail are the ones that are really pushing this stuff in the parks.
Yeah.
I think that there are some questions regardless. I just think there's less risk with Josh from an optics and running and keeping a stable portion of your most successful end of things. But I think a dual CEO setup requires a lot of trust. And I'm guessing when those two are competing, corporate world is a dog eat dog world. And I don't know if I would trust somebody to be a co-CEO if we were gunning for the same spot and you think that they're going to undercut you. So that's why I think a dark horse candidate though is Tom Staggs and Kevin Mayer, who run Candle Media. They are always out there. I think that's a dark horse that you could see them buy Candle Media and bring those two in as the dual CEO setup. I don't know what the chances are. They have been talking with Iger in a consulting way for a year at least. But yeah, I think if they're going internal, to me, from the outside looking in without more information, I could see why Josh would get the nod.
Yeah. And I want to pull up this video George sent me. I don't know where exactly this point was, George. So I'm going to try to do my best.
I think it's closer to the end of the video.
Okay.
But it's only like 53 seconds.
Okay. So the video I'm going to play for everybody is George. And George, you want to explain what you're doing before I play it?
Yeah, so basically of the video that Conductor was just showcasing to everyone, this was the same spot because we were all there together for the opening ceremony during Disneyland's 70th, actually on July 17th. And Damaro was standing over by Iger before they got called up to the podium and everything. So I thought, you know, I'd record some B-roll and everything. And I thought, well, I'll just record them and see you know, to see like, you know, if I could get like any kind of reaction. Well, Josh then turns towards our direction. And I thought, I wonder if he'd recognize me. So I started like pointing, like I pointed to him and I was like waving and stuff. And I guess there was like a woman or someone that was like kind of in front of him. So he kind of like ducked around her and then he waved back to the camera. So I was trying to find it, but I actually ended up finding it. So I thought I'd send it to Conductor and share it out.
So I'm gonna play it for everyone with sound and everything. So here we go.
Can you make it bigger?
I don't think. Well, let me try it, but it's gonna block my screen. But
does that? That's you guys are chatting. Do you have his AIM username?
Was that? No, I should though.
Oh.
Look at that. See, he ducks over. Look at him.
Or AOL. Sorry, AOL username. That's what I meant. AOL Messenger back in the day.
Yeah, that's so I'm like, I'm trying to get his attention. I'm waving. See, he kind of.
He was trying to get your attention.
Yeah.
He was looking your way the whole time. I think he was like, "Is he going to see me?" Well, and that's the thing Josh has too. Like, again, he's got that charisma, and he takes pictures with people in the park. Like, I know the cast members really like him. That's the other thing too. Is how, you know, his perception amongst cast members is very positive from the ones I have talked to, which I know a handful, like 6 to a dozen, you know, a dozen or so. You know, I think it makes the most sense. And again, we've been hearing for almost 2 years now that he's the front runner, or maybe a year and a half. He's like the front runner here. So that article that came out really didn't change anything from the last article about that came out, but a little bit more. Iger seemed a little bit more defensive about just outright saying it's Josh, but I think at this point it seems to be.
Well, see, it's interesting because I mentioned it to you the other night, Jared, on your channel. I said what's funny is I think what's going to wind up happening is the mere fact that we're not going to hear anything about a CEO change until D23 in August. I think when the parks panel happens that night at the Honda Center, I honestly do believe what's going to happen is that Josh Tomorrow is going to be on stage, or vice versa. Bob Iger is going to be on stage, and Bob Iger is going to announce something, or at some point he's going to announce Josh as the CEO, or a new CEO in general. Because but more likely it's going to be Josh.
It says that it'll go into transition at the end of 2026. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they make the announcement at D23. And I know that a lot of people say that, you know, D23 is not the place or time where they kind of make their corporate decisions and everything. I don't know. I think, honestly, the fact that you have a convention with your biggest fans, like, I think, honestly, that would be the perfect place to make that announcement, where you have almost 20,000 people in an arena, to then where Iger comes out with Damaro and say, here's your next CEO starting December of 2026.
Well, although they have said that they're going to say it early in 2026. That's the only caveat, and that's what now that could change. But that is what they have previously said. They would and make the announcement early in 2026.
Well, see, Jared, I would only agree with you if D23 wasn't happening that year. But since D23,
don't get beef with me, get beef with Reuters. I'm just kidding. I know. That could all change. I agree. It wouldn't be a bad place to make the announcement. Well, and also, how would the crowd react if it was Dana Walden? Like, that's the thing too. Investors, as much as Josh has been going around to Moffat Nathanson, he went to the Netflix little thing where Iger usually goes to. Like, a lot of the things that Iger and CEOs typically go to, D'Amaro has been going to.
Yes.
I don't know how they would react to Walden.
Oh, I think if it was Walden, they'd just pick any random like Tuesday and they'd drop it on the thing. I think if it was tomorrow, they could potentially make some sort of big, shingding at D23.
And here's something to think about. Dana Walden is really good friends with Kamala Harris. Now, I'm not saying one or the other about anything. You can guess probably where she leans politically. I have no clue what Josh D'Amaro's politics are, nor do I think anybody else does. That's a positive if you are the board, and Disney and Iger himself has said they wanted to get out of this culture war stuff they found themselves in many ways. I think D'Amaro is also the cleaner pick on that end. And that has been noted as well after, Harris didn't win the election, that hurt Walden's chances even further because of the current administration. So I think that is something as well. I hope we never know D'Amaro's politics, but I actually think that might be a relief a bit if somebody came in seemingly unhampered by political, at least seemingly political ties that would come in.
Well, see, that the other thing I see D'Amaro doing at D23, if Iger comes out and announces he's the next CEO, and let's say at the time, because let's say Avengers Camp is the two rides, Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Labs, if it's not open already, it's about to open. And then let's say they've already started to break ground for Coco. One of the things, if I was D'Amaro and I was standing on a stage and just got announced that I was CEO, one of the first things I would do is go backstage, get my Imagineer helmet, bring it out and say, okay, right after D23, I am heading directly across the street to Disneyland to check up, as your new CEO, to check up on the Coco, and let's see where Avatar's at. And then he posts, not even a day later or 2 days later, he's already on his way to Walt Disney World to check up on Tropical Americas and all those lands. That's something I would say, wow, he's already started. He already started off the gate. He just got announced the new CEO. He's taken over for Bob Iger, and he's already shown initiative. I think if he did something like that, a lot of people's opinion about him would change, because nowadays, Jared, you made a great point. We want a CEO that obviously we don't want to know what his politics are. We just want to see results. Mm-hmm. The results that were already announced at the last D23, we want to see them continue. We want to see new stuff come to the parks. So if we have a CEO like that who is already, determined to immediately get to work as the new CEO, then again, like I said, a lot of people's opinion about him would change. And to Dana Walden's point, I just don't think someone that's been on the media side of the Walt Disney Company, I personally, without her having theme park experience, and I mean like running a theme park, I just don't see her being a obvious choice. Because like, I think it was either you, Jared, or George might have mentioned it. I think it was you, Jared, that when it comes to the Walt Disney Company, it seems like lately the parks are bringing in the money.
Oh, they bring in double of everything else. I mean, it's like 60% of the money that comes in or more that is the parks now, or experiences.
That's what I mean. So, George, what do you think about what I just said about what D'Amaro would do if he got announced at D23 and in front of 20,000 fans, and he did what I was mentioning or something relative to that? What would you think about him then?
So I think, if this is the route that they go, last D23 was basically D'Amaro setting up the stage to kind of get the fans back into his good graces. Because prior to that, with D23 2022 and the Destination D23 2023 after that, he was starting to kind of fall to the wayside with the fans. People were starting to kind of get that kind of bitter taste towards him of how they started seeing Iger. And I think he probably thought, if I got to get back into this race, I got to do something really impressive. And that's what he did. He did deliver at D23 last year. And then more importantly, he stuck to his word where all these projects are kind of going off simultaneously, which that's what he said. Now moving forward to next year's D23, knowing how Disney likes to utilize like a kind of play on words, if they were to utilize the screen and they would put up like a kind of like a little video clip where it says, you know, the Walt Disney Company, we strive for excellence. You know, we look into the future of, you know, of a lot of great things to come. We're not looking to yesterday. We're not looking to today. We're looking to tomorrow. And then after you say that, the screen goes black and it says, and then the announcer goes, ladies and gentlemen, your new upcoming CEO, chief officer of the Walt Disney Company, Josh D'Amaro. That would bring literally the whole entire arena to its feet.
I would love that.
And then again, my concern is as long as he keeps up with his promises. Now, again, running a whole entire company, especially one that's so unique like the Walt Disney Company, because it's not just one thing. It's not just a streaming service. It's not just a studio. It's not just theme parks. It's all of the above and then some. So you have to run everything under your name. So there's always going to be ups and downs with everything, with everybody. But as long as he keeps as strongly as he possibly can to the vision of what he sees as CEO, I think that would be the route to go. Now, to what Jared was saying with like the parks making up majority of the percentage of profits right now with the company and what have you. And there is the whole notion that I do agree with, that the studio is the heartbeat of the company. That's where it started. That's where you get all the IP into the parks. My only concern moving forward with the studio, which could then eventually bleed into the parks, is we haven't seen a lot of good original content coming from the studios lately. It's based off of what is already pre-existing with Frozen, with Tangled, with Zootopia. Right now, the studio just can't get a grip. And honestly, I say the same thing with Pixar too. They can't get a grip of something original because they just released a piece of information about the new movie Hexed coming up. It's not going to be a musical. There and then, that puts up some red flags for me, because Disney should stick to their core of having kind of a fairy tale musical thing. That's what they're known for. That's what is. So, now again, I'm not saying that you have to have a good movie for it to be a musical, but in Disney's case, I think that they should kind of go down that route. When you look at films like Elio, Strange World, Lightyear, they all seem like they come from the same core, so to speak, where you can't differentiate Disney animation with Pixar, and that was never the case before. It just seems like it's all just jumbled in one machine. But when you get Inside Out 2, and we're about to get Zootopia 2, Inside Out 2 was a massive success. I absolutely loved the movie.
Yeah.
But they seem like they put more TLC with it because it was already a popular enough movie that could contend with a sequel. The same with Zootopia. When it comes to original material, they just seem like they just can't get a grip on it. And then what does that then do with the parks? Because then the parks then need to lead into the IP. So I feel like that Disney's relying on the older IP anyway.
Right, and that's why I think Walden, it's not like she's putting out bangers either.
No.
And I think that would give you more credence to D'Amaro. And just as a reference, Bob Chapek was announced as Disney CEO in February of 25th of 2020, and it was via a official press release. Now that they could change it, but I think that they likely would, that timeline, in my opinion, would play out, because I think by the time you get toward August and September, which is getting toward the end of Disney's fiscal year, because their fiscal year is not like our calendar year. So we're already in the first quarter of their 2026, essentially.
So do you think that they would? So what fiscal year of 2026 do you think they would make that announcement?
I think now technically you're already in the first fiscal one, but it would be early in the fiscal year where you let he's announced early on he's going to come in and allows the rest of 2026 as that transition to take place where it's done by the time 2027 fiscal runs around. That would be my guess as to what they would want to do. You let Iger sort of transition. It's not like all of a sudden it's like, and here's Josh. It's like you get this transition time where he's going to take over beginning of fiscal 2027, which would be around this time next year. I kind of think that's the timeline that they would follow in terms of announcing the next person. So I'd be a little surprised if they waited until end of summer, toward the end of the summer, to announce it, just given that end of things and like when they would want that to kind of have a clean transition.
No, it's interesting because I could see it that aspect too. My only thing was kind of getting fans hyped up because, again, with DeMauro being part of the parks or in charge of the parks for so long, there have been things that a lot of fans blame him for and do not like him for. Yeah. So if he's looking, or if Iger's looking to have DeMauro as his successor, financially it makes sense to announce it early 2026. Logically, it makes more sense to announce it at a bigger event like D23, where you have a huge crowd to announce that with, and kind of let him take the floor, and you kind of see Iger just going away off stage and just going away internally. So I can see it both ways.
But I also think if you do it early on, you give Josh the ability to build up to that D23 where he could make some announcement. Then D23 is this big culmination of like when he's presented. Not that you would make the announcement then, but it could still be a build up of that. And you might, maybe he has stuff when he starts talking about the things he wants to do, his vision. Like, you could still have that big build up and reveal in many ways. Like the first time he's kind of shown as like, here's the next CEO. Let that be his coronation of such, and then a few months later, he officially takes over fully. But
like Sean just posted, he said they will probably announce it at the shareholder meeting, maybe the yearly shareholder meeting. That's probably
coming up though in like November of this year. So, I mean, they could, but I think if they went to if they have said previously early in 2026 as they announce it. But the other thing too. It's not just Iger deciding this, it's Gorman. James Gorman is the head of the secession committee. Yeah. And so a lot of it's going to, I think obviously Iger has input, but I think after Chapek, they're like, you don't get to make the sole decision here. And Gorman may have more control over how this is rolled out and things like that. But yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing too is we talked about it, Jared, the other night as well, that Iger's not fully going away. At least for 1 to 2 years.
I think it's 2 years he stays on to like consult, essentially.
Yeah, to consult. So basically, DeMauro is just taking the place as the new title and the person in front of cameras. Meanwhile, Iger's still part of it, just taking a back seat.
I will say, though, I think the board, if that's the case where Iger is doing what he did under Chapek, where he was still chairman of the board and all these things like that, I think that's an insane thing to do again. What's up, Orange Grove? Not my daddy. Yeah.
My gosh.
He becomes a granddaddy now, maybe. Daddy. But like, I think that would be, if you had this botched CEO thing again, as much as Iger is legacy obsessed, I mean, I don't think Iger's gonna be walking through being the CEO again. That would be just a terrible look. Yeah. So I feel like even though he's going to be consulting, I would hope with Gorman in charge, it becomes much more of you're here to kind of just handle some of the transition stuff, but Josh gets to actually have the full run of if it is him to get the full run of these things. Because the last time, I mean, you can't do that again. I mean, that was bad enough the first time around. It's just going to look even worse if you basically have the same thing play out yet again.
And George, what do you think about that? And by the way, before you get started, I just want to share with everybody watching, this is what I was talking about earlier with the walk and talk, and Jared came out with that clever comment about Josh and Iger doing a play date at the parks on the West
It's
Coast.
not playing. It's real. They're getting close.
Well, I call it playing because
that's the sound that takes place as they're walking around the parks.
Oh God, here we go. No, but this is exactly what I like.
I hear that's the same sound that that it makes when Elton John enters a room.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, it's better than hearing. No, God, you don't want to hear that. That's a bad one to hear when you're.
That's true, but I do like Michael Scott, so I can't diss that 100%. But no, but this is what I like from content creators like George. Doing something that other content creators don't do. They, George has Orange Grove 55 and Theme Park Wizard with them, kind of just walking around the parks, talking about what changes could be happening, what changes may not be happening. And again, that's what I kind of have seen Josh Tomorrow and Bob Iger doing, walking around DCA, walking around Disneyland, pointing stuff out, looking at stuff, talking about stuff. I think really quite honestly, since I've seen that, going into the parks and maybe at home at the studio, kind of just watching, little clips from social media of them walking around together makes me honestly believe that Tomorrow really is going to be the next CEO. It's hard not to believe that when the evidence is there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And maybe the walk and talks with Dana went really bad.
They did.
Maybe they were walking around and she's like, "What's that? Gross. Get rid of it." And it's like, that's Haunted Mansion.
Well, I have to tell you something. Because probably when George was walking around with Theme Park Wizard and OG, they saw Dana Walden walking with Iger, and they're like, "Oh," George is like, I have to run the Dana Walden. I have to tell her, no, go away.
See, when you run up on Dana Walden, it's a different scenario. Then George is getting hit with a case for sexual harassment or something. I mean, you never know.
It depends, because I know George, being an Italiano, he has that Italiano flavor of kindness. So I'm sure he can work around that.
Yeah, I guess so, if you say so.
I'm not going to say that because I hear him say all the time it's sticky. So I can only assume that.
Well, that's PG. That's PG language.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that's PG.
But of course, that would be the PG of what it used to be back in the early days of cinema, when PG, that you could still say like profanities and curse words and it still reads as PG.
Oh yeah, it's changed a lot. Yeah, you're like, wait a minute.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, hell, A Christmas Story was PG.
Yeah.
And like it went through like how many different language barriers.
That movie.
That's a good point.
You're telling me. I want to ask you, Jared, when was the last time you were at the parks in Orlando? When was the last time?
A month ago? Somewhere around there?
Okay.
Yeah.
When's the next time you are going or planning on going?
I don't know definitively. Probably sometime either this month, next month for sure. I mean, we always do. We'll go back to Missouri for for Thanksgiving. So I mean, for sure, Christmas stuff. Probably go check out some of the fall stuff. I know when you guys are down in March, for sure, that we'll be doing park stuff. But usually we go like at least once a month.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is because that's one of the biggest problems I see out here. At least at DCA, I don't really see it as much at Disneyland. And George, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but at DCA and Avengers Campus especially, we've kind of lost connection with entertainment, with meet and greets and whatnot. Are you seeing that on the East Coast at the parks out there, especially Walt Disney World, at some of their locations with meet and greet characters or just shows in general?
I mean, meet and greets, not as much. I mean, Streetmosphere, they've been lacking for, a while. They got rid of the Citizens of Main Street and some other elements. They did have another, I saw pop up, it was a band that was playing at Hollywood Studios as like a Streetmosphere. So I feel like they might be adding a little bit more into it. They did have the Cool Kids Summer where they had a lot more meet and greets that were going on this summer.
Sure.
I don't know if that's something they're going to extend going forward. I think they should. But
Sure.
I feel like this summer in particular, they kind of put more of an emphasis on meet and greets and show, like in terms of the Little Mermaid show and the villain show and stuff like that. And maybe, hopefully, getting more back Streetmosphere. I think that's something, especially Hollywood Studios, that ever since they got rid of the Citizens of Main Street, that added such a unique element to it. Especially like when it was a working studio and that old time, Hollywood feel and stuff like that. So I hope they do. I think they also brought back the Streetmosphere band and things like that, Animal Kingdom recently as well. So maybe seeing some of that come back a bit. But meet and greets, I haven't, I would say that's probably been up to bit the past summer.
I just wanna say Orange Go 55. Shout out to him for the super chat for the $2 and also for sponsoring this channel, being a moderator. But this is funny right here. He's calling me Daddy Conductor now. I don't know what that means. I don't know what him and Wizard are up to at Universal at Moe's Tavern, but it sounds like he's having a good time over there.
You just need to lean into it a little bit. Just Daddy Conductor.
Now, Jared, let me ask you, because you had mentioned like about adding things. Hey, what's up, Mademoiselle? When you mentioned about like getting rid of the citizens and what have you, now did they just recently add in a I forget the name of it, like a type of band, like a musician band that they added to Hollywood Studios?
Yeah, I mentioned that. I think the other day I saw that where they had a band that popped up. I don't know if they're permanent, but I did see that recently, which I was happy to see. It was on Sunset Boulevard. That
okay.
I don't know if
they said that we're supposedly getting a new show out here at Disneyland. They're looking for performers, but what was interesting was what kind of performers that they were looking for, like improv variety performers. So I'm very curious to know like what that would actually mean, like what kind of entertainment live show would be at Disneyland with that.
Yeah, it sounds like what they used to have, because they used to have a guy, Equity Ben. He was hilarious. He wrote the Frozen show in Hollywood Studios. He used to be in it. He also used to do the Streetmosphere that was part of the Citizens of Hollywood. He now does it at Universal Orlando in front of Mel's Diner, where they bring in like the old Hollywood actresses. So it's kind of the same shtick. If you know, he's a funny dude. It kind of sounds like that. He would kind of ad lib and interact with the crowds and stuff like that. So I think something like that, I would love to see on both coasts. I think it'd fit perfect.
That would be awesome. Well, I want to ask you guys something real quick, Jared. I want to get to you because I know you have to skedaddle. Is one of the things that we're going to be facing out here in DCA in the years coming is basically DCA, at least more than half of it is going to be under construction due to Avatar, due to what do you call it, the Coco Dark Ride behind the Incredicoaster that you can clearly see from George's video, and then other things as well. Magic Kingdom, even though Rivers of America is basically walled off, do you think, because you guys have kind of the same similar events that we have out here in Disneyland with Christmas, Halloween, and stuff like that. And one of the things I've asked George and I've asked OG is, do you think that prices might be adjusted to accommodate, having so much construction in that park? And this kind of directs more towards you because there's multiple parks, but it also addresses us. But I want to get your opinion out about Walt Disney World and Magic Kingdom.
I don't think that you'll ever see Disney like go in and say the base prices have dropped due to it, but I think what you'll see is running a lot of discounts. We already seen they already released for 2026 some pretty decent, kind of similar discounts that they had. Look at those guys just hanging out.
Some guys right there.
Discounts they had.
Well, Wizard's showing a kissy face. I don't want to see that. George, I thought you censored this video. What the hell?
Yeah.
That's quite something to put out. That's quite something to put out there on the internet for people just to like I won't go in and grab it and do something with it. I think they're running similar discounts that they had in the summer. They're even running some for this fall. So I think you'll see a lot of discounts during all this construction, because I think they, a lot's been talked about is like, what would Epic's Universe impact on Disney be? And obviously we'll wait and see what the earnings calls for this upcoming quarter for both companies look like. But I think whatever impact Epic Universe had this summer, it's only going to continue to be an issue for the coming years. Sure. As they're going to have all this construction on top of more competition. And there's a lot of people that may just say, I'll wait to go till all this stuff is done, which you're talking about 5+ years probably. I mean, if you're talking about all this stuff, it's gonna be a long time. So I think they'll probably run a lot of discounts to try and offset that, depending on how the attendance looks. But I don't think they're going to come out and be like, okay, I know the high end of Magic Kingdom was $199. We're dropping that down to $150. Like, I don't think you'll ever see Disney do that, but they'll just run discounts.
Well, see, it's interesting, and I'm going to talk with George about this, but DCA is going to be a lot bigger construction zone than maybe Magic Kingdom, and one of the things that we have out here is Oogie Boogie, and it's at DCA. It used to be at Disneyland, and it was called something else. But now that construction is going to be a big thing at DCA, and possibly hours are going to be changed and adjusted to accommodate the construction going on over there. There were talks about possibly moving the Halloween event back to Disneyland. So my thinking is, why would people want to go to DCA only for a half-day park? And George has brought this up multiple times as well. Why not accommodate guests that still do want to go to DCA, just like Magic Kingdom, but might only have half-day park hours compared to the full day? Why not drop the price to accommodate and let Disneyland guests know, hey, we're actually thinking about you guys. We're not trying to be greedy savages.
I think it would be great. I think it'd be a smart move. I just don't think Disney would ever do it. Now, if they did, I'd be pleasantly surprised if they did. I think it would be a good PR move during that to kind of like have a lot of goodwill for the very valid reasons like George said, especially when you're talking about like Animal Kingdom. Like that place is just, there's already not much to do there. Now you've got a whole bunch of construction going on. Like, that is a quarter of a day park essentially. I've never felt it's a full day park anyways. So I think it would be a good move, but until Disney ever did it, I just don't see any sort of recent, I guess, last 10-year behavior that would point to me thinking that they would. But maybe under Josh they would. That's the thing. Maybe Josh comes in and changes. If he does get the job, maybe it's one thing he does is come in and kind of try and be more trying to build up that goodwill, understanding these things, maybe, but I wouldn't bet on it, if I put it that way, if I was a betting man.
George, what do you think?
See, the thing is with you're at a sticky situation where you're adding all of these new upcoming projects, which we all know once they all come out, from the woodwork and they're open and everything, prices for everything are going to go up.
Yep, way up. Yep,
it's going to keep going. In the meantime, Disney has to try to hold that at bay, because if they make the prices go up too quickly at a much higher rate before the stuff even opens, then you're going to have to make it go up even further. So with DCA kind of going back to the point where it's going to be like in 2011, 2012, maybe like 2010 to 2012, where it was Construction Wall City. It was basically a labyrinth while they were doing Buena Vista Street and Cars Land. Again, not knowing what the fate is for Oogie Boogie next year. Would Oogie Boogie return? Probably, but it might be after the fact all the construction's done. They may move Halloween temporarily over to Disneyland, which I think would be a win-win. It hasn't been over to Disneyland in how many years? I think the demand for it, people would want to go. And then by the time the construction's done, you bring back Oogie Boogie. It's been away for so long, people then miss it and say, hey, you know what? Oogie Boogie's been gone for a while. It's returning. Let's go. Let's go back to Oogie Boogie. I just feel like the rate of these parks, where unless it's a castle park, they're really not worth a day ticket, no matter how you splice it, unless you actually get them to the quality of a Castle Park.
Yeah.
I don't see how people would then, unless you have an annual pass or a Magic Key, if you're just looking at tickets alone, which that's the rate that Disney wants to get it to, because they're aiming for the demographic of vacationers and visitors over annual pass holders and Magic Key holders, they then have to deliver something more into the parks themselves outside of the castle parks.
Yeah, and Mound Lizelle says, yes, bring back Mickey's Halloween to Disneyland. And I couldn't agree more, because I remember going through it the last year they had it before they moved it to DCA, and it was a blast. It was so much fun. I felt more immersed than I do at DCA. So I would not mind it coming back to Disneyland, and I hope it does due to the construction. But I want to
I didn't get to go, like, I didn't get to go to Halloween at Disneyland, so that would be a real treat for me, no pun intended.
Sure.
Because at that time, before it was Oogie Boogie, I went to my now ex-wife's sister's wedding. I never really brought up my ex-sister-in-law. She bears a striking resemblance to Michael McDonald, but but
I had a joke thing for you. Thank you.
But yeah, in any case, I didn't get to go to Halloween at Disneyland.
Oh man, no, it's an absolute treat, and believe me, it's so much more fun at Disneyland than DCA. I think you would have a lot of fun. You and Abby would have a blast.
I'm actually surprised to hear they moved it over to DCA from just the outside looking in.
I think for a couple factors that, again, there's not a whole lot going on at DCA like during that time of season.
Right.
So it's like everyone would go to Disneyland regardless. So how can we draw people over to DCA?
Right,
and it does get a little more. They utilize the villains in a much, I think, better way than how they would over at Disneyland Park.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where, you know, DCA kind of has a little bit more of that adult edge than Disneyland. So you can kind of get away with a little more stuff like that.
I'm kind of curious about
near like HHN, but
yeah, I'm
Disney's version of HHN.
I'm kind of curious about Villains Land when it opens, if they'll do some extra thing for Halloween in Villains Land with the villains, kind of have a different type of party.
Well, see, it's very interesting you say that, Jerry, because I hope they do. It's the same thing I can argue about Dark Universe at Epic, you know, incorporating some type of HHN Halloween event where you use Dark Universe as the main hub, and then you use Celestial Park as an extension. And that's one thing I cannot wait to see in March when I go with George and OG and Tommy and Abby, is to see how Epic Universe is built by me standing in the park. It sounds genius how they did that. Where, Jared, you've mentioned it before, where you can take each one of those lands and use Celestial Park as an extension to that land for that event, for that IP. So it's genius. They did that.
Well, they left that door open. They were asked about it directly, and I think it was Steve Tatham, who's the creative director of Epic, and he basically said anything's on the table. Now, I don't think they'll do it this year, of course, because it's the first year of the park, but I think you could see it in coming years where they do something, probably not Halloween Horror Night-esque. They'd probably be its own thing, but some sort of maybe, I don't know where you would put it. I don't know if they'd go family-friendly, but they might just have an alternative Halloween experience you can get in Dark Universe, extend that out into Celestial Park. And if they're able to get, say, Nintendo, like, you got to get those other IPs on board, perhaps you could actually include the whole park. But I think there is potential, especially Dark Universe doing something. I think that'd be awesome at Halloween.
I personally think that would be perfect. You know, it's interesting about Super Nintendo World, because when ours opened the first year, they didn't incorporate Halloween. They still kind of really don't. But the Christmas overlay where we saw in Japan, we didn't see that until what, George, 2 years ago for our Super Nintendo World. So the fact that you mentioned something about Epic Universe about the first year, they might not do something but the second year they might do something. So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome. I'm excited whenever they do Christmas in Super Nintendo World. I think that'd be awesome. Man. And you can even do Halloween because you got the you've got that built into the Mario games where you could do the spooky haunted the mansion type stuff, everything like that.
That's what I mean. Who in the hell would not want to meet Bowser or meet King Boo or one of the Guptas or something like that? Are you kidding me? I would enjoy that.
Yeah, and you can always change Mario Kart is a ride that could kind of be like Star Tours where those scenes could change.
Yes.
I mean, you could. I mean, it's just screen
or honestly remove it altogether.
See, I don't hate Mario Kart. I actually kind of enjoy it. I understand the beefs people have, but I love Mario Kart. So, hate. It's a terrible communist game in terms of like if you're ahead, you get pissed. Somebody comes across and just hits you with a blue shell. But yeah,
I get what George is saying. He wants our Mario Kart to be like Test Track. That's what he wants.
I want Mario Kart to be like exactly how it is in the game. I want some competitiveness. I want some racing. I want where you can literally bang people off course and they go spinning around and stuff like that.
We can just go to I-4 when you guys are down here. I mean, we can get that whole experience.
Hey, just don't give George any type of Italian food because I don't want that chucked at me while I'm trying to drive. Just don't do that.
It's nevertheless, if you're on I-4, somebody will go by you going like 120 out of nowhere. Every 10 miles, you'll see somebody just, a blur go by and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Good Lord. Oh my God. But Jared, I want to thank you for joining our resumed Conductor Sunday live stream. You're always welcome to be on here. It's always a blast talking to you from the West Coast to the East Coast. You are our East Coast correspondent, and I love having you on, hearing about all the information coming from Universal Orlando and the Walt Disney Magic Kingdom. It's always a great time. I love watching your videos, your content. It's absolutely incredible. Where can everyone find you on social media?
Well, thank you for the kind words. The check is in the mail. I appreciate that. We kept more in there, but no, it's always a great time being here. Thanks for having me. I'm glad I could be on the relaunch of the Conductor live streams. And that intro was nice. That was a good beat to get you into it. I like it.
All credit to you. All credit to you.
Listen, I have skills, and when I can help my friends out, I will do that. But yeah, no, I'm thankful for being here. It's always a good time with George as well, and talking theme parks and. Sometimes bidets come up, but we kept it light on the bidet talk today.
So, we did. I had to start it off, but we did.
I mean, you did bring it up first. I was going to kind of.
So I'm guilty of it.
I was going to find a little wedge to bring it in, but hey, no, and I'm really looking forward to.
If you have a wedge, that's why there's bidets.
See what I mean? Everybody watching, you see what I mean? These two are like children in like a little corner of the playground plotting their next.
Listen, I've never claimed to be a mature adult. Okay, my personality and my sense of humor hasn't changed much since I was a teenager. But I'm looking forward to you guys are down here in March. We'll have a lot of fun hanging out in the parks. But you can find me at Cap the Magic. A lot of content lately has been around Stardust Racers. I'm assuming I think Ben Crump's supposed to give a press conference tomorrow, so more than likely we'll hear something else from him. What'd you say?
I can't wait to see that one.
Oh yeah, he's probably going to come out all sorts of stuff. Who knows what he's got up his sleeve? But yeah, you can find me over there. And then if you want actual theme park related in terms of like reviews, strategies, all sorts of stuff there at CTM Podcast. My wife and I have a podcast called Capture the Magic Podcast where we cover Universal and Disney. Been doing that one for a while, so that's where you can find me if you're looking for that content. And I appreciate you guys having me on here. And I will be on here anytime you'd like to have me on. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And then Jared, if you want to just remind everybody, I don't have the screen pulled up, but if you want to remind everybody where they can get your amazing apparel.
Yeah, you can go to ctmapparelco.com. And that is where we have an apparel company there where we make theme park apparel, pop culture, stuff like that. And you can actually get, you've got a promo code Conductor.
Yes.
So if you use Conductor, you get 10% off your order, and Conductor gets a little kickback there, and you get some great shirts. So we make everything in-house. We don't use third-party printers, so everything is lasts a long time. It's the shirts I wear all the time. So high quality, very comfortable shirts. And I think you'll enjoy them. So if you're looking for Christmas presents or anything like that, you can check that out. And then we'll do some more West Coast stuff too, because now you guys, I'll get some West Coast input on some Disneyland and Universal Hollywood shirts, like the Fast and Furious ride and stuff like that. So we'll add some more of that type of shirts on there also. But that's where you can go is ctmapparelco.com.
And to quote you on that, because I've talked to you off camera, was with FanFest, being greenlit for 2026, there is a slim possibility, I'm not saying guaranteed, but a slim possibility that you and the wife would like to come out to the West Coast and see that.
That is something that we definitely want to have happen. My wife's itching to go back out to Disneyland. She's been many times. Like her mom grew up going to Disneyland. I'm the only one that hasn't been to Universal Hollywood or Disneyland. So we're hopefully next year we can do that, where we could go hit both coasts up and hang out with you guys and get some West Coast content, everything like that. So that would be a blast to do. So if it is in the cards, it shall be done.
Absolutely.
I'll just come and throw shirts at you guys, and we'll just have shirt giveaways in the park or something.
Perfect. That sounds good. As long as you don't have a shirt cannon, I'm safe.
I'll just tell you got to go find George, and then George just throws it over his shoulder and looks.
Just tell them to go find me. I'm the one person in the park that's shirtless. So.
Find the guy that's it's just over his shoulder.
So there's two places you'll find George: either on the Jungle Cruise with no shirt, or you'll find him on Tom Sawyer's Island with no shirt, swinging from the trees.
Yeah, it is his natural habitat. Yeah.
And then you'll find me in Tomorrowland trying to put my construction helmet on, ready to bulldoze.
Yeah, you'll find me talking to the police, being like, "I don't know him. I don't know how he got my shirts. I don't know who he is."
Good gosh. And then you'll probably find OG at DCA at one of the wineries or something over there.
Yeah, it'll be an eclectic mix, as they say. Oh, by the way, it was the other person I'm related to is Sir Francis Drake. That was the other one I was trying to remember about my lineage.
Wait a minute. We're talking about me with my shirt off, and that's the time when you remember the name.
Well, you make me think of a historical figure, like you would have been treasure hunting back in the day.
Oh my! Hunting bidets? Are you kidding me?
Italiano lineage of treasure hunting in theme parks, I figure, is a very
I'd be like with something like war paint on. I'd be like, shh, be very, very quiet. We're hunting bidets.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know if you knew this. There's priceless bidets out there that have yet to be discovered.
I'm sure. And you'll find them at the Disneyland Resort if Josh tomorrow becomes CEO.
I want one with some golden knobs.
Yeah,
I'm sure you do. You'll find them in Cinderella's castle somewhere.
I think that's what we'll find out. Is that's how Diamaro basically sealed up the CEO job, as he promised bidets, and the board's like,
wait, if you find one in Cinderella Castle, would that make it a royal flush?
Yes,
I think it would.
It would,
and never been cleaner.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, good God!
What's funny is back in the day.
I mean, you get a royal flush in a game of card, but guess what? You also get deuces.
It's true.
Oh my God!
It is funny to think about that, because I saw a video the other day talking about how gross it was back in the medieval ages. Like even kings, if we lived like them today, it'd be like the most disgusting thing. The way in which it was just like, oh my God. I'm so glad I live in 2025 in some respects, but yeah.
Yeah.
Then in other words, I'm like, well, I don't know.
Well, as long as you're not walking through, what was it, Magic Kingdom next to Tom Sawyer's Island, freaking sewage happens.
Yeah, that's not a good one. That's a recurring problem too. That's happened at least twice.
That better not happen when I'm there. I'm going to raise hell. So you better stay away from me.
If you slip and fall in it, you got a good.
Oh God! Don't tell me that.
No, but then you got a good lawsuit. You can sit there and get hurt. That you yourself on the sewage issue that they had.
Oh, great. That's going to be a wonderful headline for not only me, but the Disneyland Resort and Costco USA. Yeah, sure.
And I would in no way, shape, or form meme that and use it to my advantage to get I wouldn't do that to you at all. I wouldn't.
Yeah, you would only print shirts.
You slipping.
Yeah, you would print shirts and little keychains. I know you.
What a mess here or something. Yeah, maybe. No, I'd give you a cut though. I'd give you a cut for your pain and suffering. But yeah. But no, either way, thanks for having me, guys. I'm gonna go to bed because it's midnight here and I gotta get up early. But love hanging out with you guys, and we'll do it again very soon.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
See you, boys. Later.
Yeah. But so I want to ask you, George, walking around Disneyland, because you've been to Disneyland a lot recent than I have. I want to ask you anything that peeks out to you about construction wise. Like we're seeing updates about Avengers Campus. Have you seen any new markers anywhere else about construction, or is it just that one area that you know of?
Right now, that's the only thing that's noticeable to me over by Avengers Campus, where you can kind of look over, kind of like the same location, but two different locations, I guess you could say, where you're actually in Avengers Campus and you can look and you see the steel beams up going vertically. And also when you go into Cars Land, when you go that opposite direction over by Luigi's, they have that blocked off for the so-called bathrooms that they're redoing.
You mean the bathrooms that are going to have the Avengers styled bidets in it?
Of course.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be a bathroom without them. Come on now. Jared's made that clear.
Yeah.
Crystal. Oh my gosh. No, but kind of talking about what we're just talking about with Jared about the Halloween thing.
Mm-hmm.
With DCA going through that much construction, I really wish Disney would come out and say, hey, we're going to be closing the park early, do the construction. There's going to be walls everywhere. Possible attractions down because of they're messing around with power and underlying utilities and whatnot. Do you really honestly think they're going to keep it the same price they're keeping it, or do you think they would even ever consider lowering it or giving some type of discount or incentive to go to DCA?
The only way that I think they would ever consider doing that is if they look at the statistics behind it. Like if they actually look at the numbers and people are dropping where they could see a significant drop in DCA as to opposed to Disneyland, they may do like a special kind of ticket deal or something of that nature. I don't know if they would literally drop the price down significantly, only if that's like a drastic measure, like a last minute decision that if nothing else works, that would be their last kind of beckon call, so to speak. But I don't know if they, I think honestly we're due for another price increase, but I bet you they're going to do it before they start all the like extra construction over at Coco, because from what they're saying is they pushed the construction up for Coco sooner than later.
Yeah.
Which I'm thinking it's going to happen. They said the end of 2025. I personally think it's going to be right after Halloween.
You know what? That's a great possibility. And something I wanted to ask you even on that part. If they're gonna start building this, even though it's kind of backstage, do you think they're gonna kind of close off where Whirlwind or that one attraction is what's it called,
Emotional Whirlwind?
Yeah, Emotional Whirlwind, and then close it off where the Plaza Garden is. Do you think they're gonna probably wall off that section to allow construction vehicles to go in and out of that area?
See, that's an interesting thought, because no matter how you slice it and dice it, that is going to be one pain in the ass, because they're going to have to block that section off one way or the other. And say they don't block off Emotional Whirlwind, because then it then takes off another ride that they could use. But just say after Emotional Whirlwind, right after Emotional Whirlwind, right where the Incredicoaster track is, they put up a wall. They would then still need to put up another wall on the opposite side where Silly Symphony Swings is.
Yes.
So just by that one little and it also depends on too where what is then going to become Coco? Because if we look at the concept art where the entrances of Coco,
yeah,
that they showed us, that piece of concept art, it looked like the boardwalk becomes something of Coco. So if that's the case, they may close down that whole section.
yeah, they might. Here it is right here, actually. Okay, let me zoom in real quick. So that's that. Oh, of course. I love freaking Facebook. But yeah, that's it right there. That's the entrance. So it's a good possibility looking at that facade. And then again, if you look at the Google Maps, it's a great possibility. I kind of thought where they have, like, during Oogie Boogie, they have Sid from Toy Story where he does his little show. I thought that was going to be the entrance for Coco, and it doesn't seem like it is.
No, and in a way, I'm glad that it isn't, because that area gets so clogged up with people as is.
Yeah.
I think that would be an operational mess if that was the entranceway to Coco.
So this is what I can see is going to wind up happening. Like you said, they're probably going to put a construction wall somewhere up here. They're probably going to put a construction wall somewhere over here. And I kind of feel like Disneyland Drive right here, at least probably to this corner up here, it's going to be walled off. It's going to be closed.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking. Do you think they could possibly do that, or would that be something they would have to possibly contact not only Anaheim but Caltrans to get approval for that, because that is a road?
It's possible. I don't know if they would go that far back, because as far as we know, as of right now, of course, this is just hearsay, that the show building is still going to be behind the Incredicoaster. So they may just have to block off the pathway between the pier and Paradise Gardens. And then whatever is backstage, they just kind of build a pathway that would lead to the back part of where we see all those trailers and everything that they hold the parade floats.
Yeah. So that's got me interested, and obviously Google Maps doesn't like to update their crap. So we just have to go with this. But looking at pictures we've seen of the two show buildings, and then kind of getting the dates for next D23. And then we talked about with Jared earlier about Josh possibly being the next CEO. Do you think they're going to wait until D23 to open those new Avengers attractions, or you think they might open earlier, before August?
Well, the Avengers attractions are due to open in 2027.
Yes.
But I think the rate, if how fast that they're going, I'm thinking it might be closer, because we don't know. Like, they say 2027, but we don't know if it's early 27, mid 2027 or late.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, if they go the route that they're going, I think there could be a possibility it may be closer to the end of 2026, early 2027. So that might be an announcement that they may make at D23 to say, hey, construction is going well. We're ahead of schedule, and the Avengers rides will be up and running by the end of 2026 or early 2027.
Yeah, I don't know if how can I put it? I don't really know off chance if they're going to wait that long. I think with Coco starting construction, I think with what they want to do with Avatar, and the fact that they want to build the Eastern Gateway project, the bridge that's gonna go across harbor, I would honestly want to think they would want to open Avengers, especially if it's pretty much ready, to open it earlier, the earliest possible. The reason I say that is because then all teams can move from that project to now Coco and get that jump started, and then from Coco they can start working on Avatar, because we both know Avatar is going to be it's going to be a monster and a half to build. It's not going to be something where it's going to be totally easy, because it's not.
No, they're going to have to get creative. They're definitely going to have to get creative with Avatar, especially like where it's going. But here's a question I have you, and I've asked Abby this, and I've asked myself this. Why is it taking so damn long for the Eastern Gateway? They got approved for that last year. How long does it really take? I mean, again, I know there's probably a lot of red and yellow tape, but how long does it really take to clear out a parking lot across the way that you already own? You cleared all space out and go vertical for a parking structure.
You know what? It's very interesting to me, because looking at this picture, because there's a lot of park spots for, for cast members. My question back at you is, do they build it all at once, or do they build sections at a time? That's what I'm wondering. And to answer your question, though, I don't get it. I really don't, because a lot of people, even, Orange Grove 55, when we've been on his channel, has even said nothing past the Avengers Campus rides and Coco, nothing past those 3 attractions can go forward without the Eastern Gateway parking structure and the sky bridge that's going to go across harbor. So quite honestly, I don't know what in God's name they're waiting for. I really do not know. But the way they've kicked in the high gear about the Avengers 2 attractions, they need to do the same thing here with the parking structure. And why they won't do it, anyone.
And OG says Disney drags their feet on construction, so it gets spread out over more fiscal periods, which I guess in Disney sense, it does make sense to them. I would just think that this project in particular, they would have focused this a little more attention to detail before anything else, because you have to get this done before you can move into anything else as far as the.
You're not. Oh, did you freeze? I think you might have froze.
Oh, there we go. Can you see me?
Okay. Yeah, I can see you now. No, you make perfect sense. Now, I'm going to ask you this, because obviously, for the Avatar land to go in, they have to rip down buildings, they have to remove attraction.
But again, does that, in order to do that, do they need to start the Eastern Gateway first before they could even start on Pandora? Because they're going to still need partial of that bus load unload area for the backstage area.
You know what? I think this is how I would do it. If I was going to do it, because OG or yourself might even know this, when you're talking about Disney fiscal years, what's the space between that? Is it just
it's usually like every,
or is it every couple?
I'm going to say it, OG. If you're still in the chat, correct me if I am wrong. Is it every like 3 to 4 months?
Okay, so this is how I would do it.
I think it's because there's 4 quarterly earnings, so I think it's every 3 months.
Okay, so this is what I would do. So let's say it's 3 months, and there's 12 months in a year. I would say between the first set of 3 months, so the first 6 months, I would start building this parking structure. Even though it's not done, then the last 6 months of the fiscal year, I would start building Pandora. That's how I would do it.
Well, and I'm wondering if that's why they're moving. Well, I think there's a couple reasons why they're moving up Coco. I'll get to that in a second. But
sure.
With Avatar, they said that they're going to start construction on that in 2026. But again, they're very vague with that. What time in 2026?
Yeah.
So they could say 2026, but if it's late 2026, then you have the whole first and second part of the year to work on the Eastern Gateway.
Well, see, this is the
Unless they go simultaneous.
That's a possibility. I could see that happening, but I want to ask you something else as well, because obviously Fire and Ash is going to come out next November. And like you just said, they said they're going to start construction in 2026, but it's very vague. No exact month or day or anything like that. Do you think they would start it before November comes around of 2026 to maybe do a cross promotion, like maybe in the credits of the movie, or maybe like some type of trailer before the movie starts to kind of
for Avatar 4?
Well, no, for the Avatar land coming to Disneyland, do it as a promo before either the movie starts, or put it in the ending credits of the movie and saying, hey.
That's what I mean. Like, of which movie? Avatar 4?
No, Fire and Ash.
Oh, at the end of this year. Oh, I think they have everything kind of like settled with Fire and Ash. I don't think they'd have any kind of surprise. I think honestly, we're not going to hear anything of Avatar. It's either going to be one of two things. They're just going to drop it on a random day on the Disney Parks blog, or they're holding it for D23.
Well, see, my question is, why would they hold it to D23 when the last D23 you and OG went to, luckily, and I'm hoping to go this next year, they had the full-scale model. They showed pictures of it. They showed concept art of it, part of what the attraction would look like. Why would they wait until another D23 to announce more information? Why not, start at least a little bit?
I think because with Avatar, they still were very vague with us. They showed us a couple pieces of concept art, but it wasn't where they kind of like solidified of like what the ride vehicle was going to be. Obviously, it's a boat ride, but I mean, like, no logistics behind it. They didn't go through like scenes of what's going on, any kind of merch, any kind of restaurants. They didn't really get into the fine details. Even what is actually the name of it? Is it just going to be called Pandora? Is it going to be called something else? We still don't know. It's still very vague in the concept art. But I do, and I keep on saying this, and I'm going to keep on saying it until I know for sure. Does Disney really know what they really want out of this land fully?
I don't think so. I'm going to be very honest with that. I don't even think so, because, to your credit, to exactly what you just said, they came and announced a name for the land. They keep calling it the Avatar Experience, which is no help. And what is even an experience? To me, an experience is you walk into a building like freaking the Star Wars launch bay and you look at exhibits. That's what that means. So I don't know if they're going to change the name. Obviously, they're building a land, because they came out. They had a model there for you all to look at D23 on the showroom floor. So obviously that part's real. Why they keep calling it an experience? Why not just give us the name? It's not like the name is it's going to give anything away. It's the name.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I was looking at the schedule, and as of right now, Avatar 4 is scheduled for release in 2029, and Avatar 5 is scheduled in 2031.
And if they start construction for the Avatar land sometime in 2026, there is a slim possibility they can finish it by 29. A slim possibility.
Right. Because after Fire and Ash, we're not getting another Avatar till another 4 years.
Yeah. Which makes perfect sense. And, one of the things I've talked to OG about, and I could see he's still in the chat, was that, and I've even talked to you about it, is building this land, it would make absolute zero sense to have one attraction in there. So what if they built the main e-ticket attraction, but they left room for another attraction which would be another e-ticket attraction, but not based off Fire and Ash, but maybe based off the next movie in 2029.
Well, they said there's going to be some elements, if you will, in all of the Avatar movies.
Yeah. And OG says, I have a video dropping tonight on Disney's upcoming movie slot. Avatar going to redeem Disney's terrible box office 2025. You know what? To answer OG's question, I think it will. I think Avatar is just a banger no matter what. It makes money. It generates money. I don't see it, doing anything less than $1 billion. I'd be shocked. I would be shocked. The one thing I did see out in Animal Kingdom, they did close experience in one of the stores. It was a create your own Banshee or something. Not enough people were doing it or something like that. They closed that down. Why?
You mean the Animal Kingdom?
Yeah.
Oh, it was the you create your own avatar. So basically, it used to be this whole I actually did it where they literally sit you in a seat and they take your DNA and they do like a whole scan of your face.
Oh, geez.
And they link it up to the chamber, and then they say, come back in a few hours and we'll have your avatar ready. Where you look at the avatar, it doesn't even look nothing like you, but it's just the whole process of
I want to see what you look like. I want to see a picture. Send it to me.
I'll have to find. I don't even know where that Avatar doll went. I'll have to find.
It better not be a voodoo doll or something.
Yeah.
No, but that's something I'm kind of wondering. What did you get the scoop on that? Why they would close something like that? It was just too expensive.
No, it was too expensive. I just think it was just a lack of that people weren't really utilizing it, and you had to have cast members on hand to kind of do the whole spiel thing and everything. And I just think that they were paying them just to stand around. It just really wasn't. I don't know. I just think like it was cool. Like I did it once, but I mean, it's not something that I would like ever do again.
Oh no. So that's something that has to be factored into this land here. Will they bring that same experience here on the West Coast and try it out? Maybe not. Who knows? But one thing I could tell you for sure that I absolutely love, and I'll probably do it while I'm out there with you guys in Orlando, is creating your own Banshee. I thought that was pretty cool. I think I might do it and put it in the.
Oh yeah, so yeah. What it is they have it's like a little rookery where you go in, and they basically have them sitting in the nests and everything, and you can choose your own Banshee, and you have the little magnetized thing. You put it on your shoulder, and
oh god, oh heck yeah. I'm going to have mine ferocious. So anytime you get close to me with Italian food, I'm just kidding. No, but this is funny. David Zully, George's avatar better have hair on the chest.
Yeah, that's where that they didn't really go. They didn't get the full finesse of the Italiano, because you would think that they would have like big blue curly hairs sticking up from the chest and everything.
Can you imagine that?
If they did do that, then they really captured me, because it's like,
God, that would be so funny. I would laugh so hard on that. But no. But about the second attraction, you were kind of starting to talk about, and then I rudely cut you off.
Oh no, fine. So yeah, the second attraction. So I think that's going to be something that would announce probably at D23. It's another form of piece of information that they haven't released. Plus, it's something saying, hey, we kind of showed you what this one attraction is. Let's show you what this one is. And I think it's probably going to have to be something, because it's not going to be like the Navi River Journey, because it's another boat ride. They would not have two boat rides.
No.
So it definitely is going to have to be something maybe Flight of Passage-esque. It may not be Flight of Passage, but just something like it. It would have to be something off of the water.
Well, okay, so I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I know it would be something that's not screen based. It would be totally different. What if it was like almost like Hagrid's, where it's a coaster and it's guiding on the water, and you're flying on a banshee?
I think if it would be a mixture of Hagrid's or like Hiccup's wing gliders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
Yeah.
That would be,
and I'd be okay with that.
okay, so let me ask you this. If they decide to announce something like that, hypothetically, you think it would be smart for them to say, well, we're only going to open the land with this first attraction. The second attraction, we're going to build in phases, but it's not going to open until 2029. Do you think people would get upset by that? Or do you think people would understand because maybe it might have a little bit of the new movie entailed into the attraction?
They very well could do that. I know a lot of people was not happy when they did that with Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people booked their trips to go to Galaxy's Edge, and all that they had to offer was Smuggler's Run, Oga's Cantina. Rise of the Resistance wasn't even up yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what hurt Galaxy's Edge when it first opened, because there wasn't everything that people were anticipating that they had to offer. So Disney still could do that depending on how long. But I think if they were smart, they would just wait and just open up everything together.
Yeah. Well, see, the other thing that hurts Galaxy's Edge, and shout out to Hey Bricky, because he's done a couple videos on this, is the mere fact that we're missing a third attraction in Galaxy's Edge. We're missing kind of like what the oh my god, I'm stuttering. The Star Cruiser restaurant was, because the footprint, the infrastructure is kind of already built there, and then possibly even a fourth attraction in that land. We're missing those three top things, and like you said, to be honest with you, Smuggler's Run when it first opened was awesome. Now it's like, basically, you're telling me I have to work to ride the attraction. I don't want to do that. I'd rather be.
Now, can you bring up OGs?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay. So he says he agrees with me, but the difference here is we will have two Marvel rides, which is going to be Infinity Defense and
Coco,
Stark Flight Lab, and then the Coco boat ride before Avatar. So for him, one ride in Pandora is okay. I mean, here's the thing. If they have nothing substantial, like to just throw something in the land just to say, hey, we got two rides, that I'm not okay with.
Yeah.
So if you don't really have anything that can like lead up to Flight of Passage or this new boat ride, technically I'm okay with one ride. And maybe that's why they're calling it an experience, because maybe it's a land, but it's not a full-fledged land. It's going to be kind of like the Cars area that would lead into Villains Land. Now, am I saying that would it be the same kind of hype? No, I think Pandora would be much more grander.
Yeah.
But it may not be what you typically would have as a full-on land.
Okay, so one of the things I do like about Galaxy's Edge, and if they'll ever go, use one of these big entrance doors that you see throughout the land, I think there's like 2 or 3 of them. If they did something like that for Avatar, and they were building the second attraction behind that, whether it was like, Hagrid's or something like that for the second attraction, but it's hidden behind some type of big wall or big, obviously that you could tell that's going to be for an entrance for the second attraction, I'd be okay with that. I seriously, I would be okay with that. So if D23 this next upcoming year says, oh, we're going to talk about detail and whatnot, and they don't even announce the second attraction, let's say they just keep their mouth shut about it, and they start building the land, they open it, and then they start construction behind that paywall for the second attraction, but they don't say anything, and then little leaks, come out. Do you think they could do it that way so they don't get people's hopes up? Or
they could do it that way. I think that's more of Universal's shtick to do things like that. I don't think Disney is willing to do that because they're all about their image of getting it out there and making it a big fuss. However, I will say, even if it just opens up with one ride, for some time, a lot of people think you have to have 2 or 3 rides in a land to open up with to make it substantial. That's not true. You could have one very good ride, and here's the thing, it could lead up to future expansion. If you do everything all at once, that doesn't leave room for progress.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about. If they decide to build a second attraction, it wouldn't open with the land. It would open much later. And like OG says, there's going to be 3 other brand new attractions that are going to be open. You got the 2 Avengers campus rides, Infinity Defense and Stark Flight Labs, and you got Coco. So it's not like we're not going to be able to experience other things.
Right. So, and Giant Peter Adventures continues with there's going to be in Paris 1 ride for Frozen and then 1 ride for Lion King.
Yeah. And that's okay, because I totally agree with you. If future attractions are going to come to those lands, why show all your cards all up front?
Mm-hmm.
Why do that?
And from his experience, he's saying that a lot of times 1 ride lands work very well.
They do. And that's one what is this? No
Wandering Okins coming to Frozen. So you're not going to have Wandering Okins out there.
I wonder if we would ever have it out here if they built one out here. I wonder if we would.
I mean, if they did, it would probably be, again, if they were to build a Frozen land, but that would have to go into Disneyland for me.
Yeah. And the question still remains, do they build in the lagoon area to counteract the...
That's where I would do it, because Arendelle does have, even though it has obviously ice and snow, but they do have water. It does work in that sense and then it's adjacent to Fantasyland, and then you have the backdrop of the Matterhorn Mountain, so it all blends in.
Yeah. So I wouldn't mind it being here, but the question now remains, because if you look, I think this is Tiana's right here, and then this Pooh's Corner right here. There's obviously, and they've even kind of hinted at it, or at least people have, that they would use this private parking lot, this whole area right here, for some type of theme park expansion. So I wonder if Arendelle does not go here, what IP would fit in with Bayou Country to make sense. That's what I'm wondering.
Okay, well, here's my thing, and I already know OG's take on if Arendelle was to go there, which I do agree with him on. Because it feels like it's a Fantasyland land property that's completely separate from Fantasyland, and you're leaving the Bayou to go into Arendelle. That's just the transition. Now, the other thing that I could think of, now I would personally love to see Zootopia in DCA. I feel like that fits a lot better into the DCA property. However, if they wanted to, you can transition it from the Bayou Country into the world of Zootopia, because technically it's still kind of like in that critter kind of, and it's separate from everything else, so it makes it look like Zootopia has their own world, so to speak. You can go that route. I'm trying to think what else that I mean, technically they still could do Frozen, but as I said, I do agree with OG. I don't think that would kind of be a proper look or a proper fit.
And Zootopia, one of the things that Bricky pointed out and this is probably almost a year ago that he did a video, was originally he was hinting at putting Arendelle here, but the one thing he was saying about Arendelle was the sight lines. how low you sit in the land by walking around, and how the forced perspective is so high. One of the things people were concerned about is hiding this parking structure, but the world in Arendelle with the forced perspective would actually cover the front of this parking structure so you wouldn't see it. But now that you're talking about Zootopia, it's the same thing. The forced perspective is so high compared to where you're standing at in the land, it can hide this parking structure. And that's what a lot of people are worried about if you do put a land in this spot.
But, and here's the thing too, I think eventually they're probably going to utilize that for future park expansion, because it was shown in the Disneyland Forward hypothetical concept art that could be used for future park expansion. And I think other than Tomorrowland and a lot of like the northeast part of the park, as far as like expanding out without having to take anything out, I would think the Lilo and Stitch parking lot is like the main core of what can actually expand out Disneyland.
Yeah, and I think this right here is the Disneyland expansion right here. Like you said, that doesn't have to be taking anything out. And then for DCA, it's this right here, the Simba parking lot. And one of the things I want to ask you real quick before we end tonight is that the Toy Story parking lot, because that's been also talked about for theme park expansion.
AKA the third gate.
The third gate. And the fact that Disney owns 21st Century Fox, the fact that Universal is getting rid of the Simpsons land in their parks. One of the questions I have for you, because Bricky just did a video, I think yesterday or the day before.
I saw that.
Okay. So if Disney was going to incorporate the Simpsons, would you suggest putting it in this third gate away from DCA and Disney? Okay, so you would. Yes.
I think, honestly, if they were to utilize The Simpsons, it would have to be in a completely new, different kind of park where it really has no connection to a lot of Disney surroundings, so to speak. So like now with DCA, I mean, you can kind of get away with it a little bit with DCA because they're already adding Pandora. But other than that, you have, the Pixar Pier, you're going to have Coco going in. I mean, you could get away with the Simpsons going to DCA, but if I had to pick and choose, put it as furthest away that you possibly can. And maybe that could just be the whole center part of the park where they utilize a lot of the Fox properties, make it a more edgier, even more not adult park, but but something that can be different than Disneyland and DCA.
Well, see, I totally agree with you, because if you think about it, when you go to Universal and you walk through Simpsons Land, don't you kind of get that feel that even though the Simpsons is kind of like that cartoonish type IP, it still caters more to adult content than it does kid content and family content? Because I kind of feel it's more the adult humor than anything. Even now,
definitely. Oh yeah, The Simpsons is more. No one really talks about it because a lot of people say, okay, South Park, that's for straight up adults. But it's like when people look at The Simpsons or Family Guy, because they're on primetime networks, they're kind of for everybody. Not really, not necessarily. I think The Simpsons and Family Guy lean more towards the older teen, young adult generation.
No, absolutely. And, one of the things I 100% agree with you is putting the Fox properties into this park. One of the things I'm curious about, though, with the Hollywood Studios in Orlando, and then even the Hollywood backlot that we have right now until Pandora takes over, is would they make this third gate kind of like a Hollywood Studios to kind of represent the Fox properties like The Simpsons and others?
I could definitely see that happening, especially since they're getting rid of Hollywoodland. because Hollywoodland was a little bit of a taste of what Hollywood Studios is down in Florida.
Yeah.
So you can maybe kind of get away with that. Maybe not make it like a full studios park, but
Sure.
have more like, yeah, basically what Hollywoodland is, but like bigger, better, you know, where you're utilizing more current IP, but through the Fox and 20th Century.
Well, see, that's what I'm getting at, because if you think about it for a second, and we've talked about this numerous of times on Buena Street leading up to the Hollywood backlot, how much of that is going to literally be taken out to incorporate Avatar? So why not?
That's the big question of the year. Where does Hollywoodland end and where does Avatar begin?
Exactly. So if they get rid of most of that, why not put it in this third gate for you know, to kind of incorporate the Fox properties?
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. Now, again, I agree with you. Not the entire space can be the Fox properties, but Bricky made an excellent statement. He's like, if Disney decides to build this in their parks, starting out here on the West Coast, we could see a much bigger footprint than what we have at Universal, because Universal, it's kind of like almost like Avengers Hallway, but it's the Simpsons Hallway. You're walking right through it to either go to the lower lot or go through the other area to either go to the backside of Harry Potter or go to the studio tour.
Well, and here's the thing too. I'm going to defend the Simpsons a little bit, not just because I'm a huge Simpsons fan.
Sure.
Do I feel like that they belong in a theme park setting? Not really. Depending on how they're utilized, I'm good with one attraction as opposed to a land. However, there is one thing that Universal did wrong with The Simpsons that I think put a detriment on the land.
Sure.
With Universal Studios Hollywood, they only have one park.
Yeah.
They wanted to put it in there. There's nothing really they can do. They squeeze it in there somewhere. With Universal Orlando, you had Islands of Adventure, which again, I know it doesn't really fit an epic universe. I get it. The Simpsons isn't epic. And Islands of Adventure, how could it really fit? But when you put The Simpsons in a studio park,
sure,
that's where it looks kind of off-putting. Because of how a studio is supposed to look, you then have a animated town sitting in the middle of it. It just, for me, it loses translation.
It does, and that's something. But that's something I 100% agree with. But for what we got, you know, for at least Hollywood, because I know Orlando's is totally different. It's so much bigger, and there's a lot more incorporated into it. But what Hollywood had to work with, I don't blame them 100%. Do I think a little bit more should happen? Yes, but for the room they had to squeeze as much as they did, I can't complain for as long as we've had this IP, but I'm not sorry to see it go. You know what I mean? I don't want to see Universal keep paying for an IP they don't even own anymore. I think we've had a great run with The Simpsons. Do not get me wrong. I love the big giant donut. I'm going to be guilty of that. I do get it once in a Blue Lagoon because it's like having a coma times 2 because it's extremely sugary. But, you know, and then seeing the characters and, you know, seeing kind of like my childhood, because I watched The Simpsons when I was a kid. I'm not going to lie. I watched it all the time. So to see, you know, the Quickie Mart, see like Moe's Tavern, to see, you know, like the characters for meet and greets like Bart and Marge and Homer and Krusty the Clown, it's awesome. Do not get me wrong. And to see Krusty Burger, that's awesome. So, you know, I've had my time with it. I think it's time to move on. If Disney wants to incorporate it in their parks, I would love to see what they would do with it. Now, what they do with it is their own problem. If they decide to shame the IP, I would hate to see that. But again, they own the IP, so whatever they want to do with it, they want to do with it. I just kind of feel we've had the run with it, It was awesome for the time we've had it, but I don't want to see Universal pay for something they don't own.
Well,
No,
and
it's not anymore.
isn't it funny that obviously, you know, The Simpsons is playing off of their own joke.
Yeah.
That, you know, in season 19, episode 1, the first episode back after the movie, where Bart writes on the chalkboard, "I will not be in another feature film for another 20 years."
Yeah.
And behold, they almost wait 20 years to the day to make the sequel. But that also comes in a very interesting time because the movie comes out 1 year to the time when Universal fully loses
Lose.
the rights. Yeah.
See, that's something interesting because we talked about it on Orange Grove 55, I think yesterday with Webba and Wizard. And one of the things that was mentioned was, would Universal consider, or would Disney consider still leasing out the IP, but maybe not for the Hollywood park because it's just too small and it's kind of just in the way, but maybe leasing it to the Orlando park for maybe until 2030 because it's such a bigger footprint? Or does Universal just say, you know what, the hell with it, we're getting rid of it on both coasts, despite the new movie?
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible.
So I don't know. It's a catch-22, but I just, like I said, I kind of feel in the Hollywood park we've had our time with it, so enough is enough. I want to see something new. You know, as far as as far as I'm concerned, as a Universal Pass member and a Magic Key holder at Disneyland, I like to see new things come in, old things being taken out if they're being underutilized or they just run their course.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm paying for. I'm paying for to have a great time. I'm paying for the experiences. I'm paying for new things to come to the park so I can enjoy it and then my future kids can enjoy it. That's what I'm looking for. So, you know, if I have an IP like The Simpsons that's been around for, how long has it been around for? What, 15 years, 10 years?
The land,
I think 15, isn't it?
I think it's 15 because I think it opened in 2010.
Yeah, so 15 years, I think it's run its course. And if
Yeah.
Disney wants to, you know, incorporate it, hey, be my guest. But that just, and Jared made a valid point. You know, with this new transition of the CEO, Bob Iger doing his exit, possibly tomorrow coming in, and Universal's just monopolizing on what they're building and just bringing new parks around the world. You know, Josh tomorrow's really going to have to, you know, put his foot on the gas and literally, you know, immediately start just keep up the magic, as people call it.
Right. So Giant Peter Venture says Back to the Future closed in 2007.
Yes,
So it closed in 2007, but The Simpsons opened in 2010, correct?
they did. They
Right.
did. So, but still, that was, if you really want to think about it, we didn't know at the time it was going to be Simpsons, but
Right.
you know, logically, you know, it's been 18 years then that we've had The Simpsons, even though 3 years of it we didn't experience because they were building it, but just figuratively, we've
Which
had around.
then makes sense because Back to the Future closed in 2007. That's when the first movie premiered.
Yeah.
So they probably thought, okay, well, the first movie was a huge success. And you have to think too, if you kind of go back to 2007, the lead up to the movie,
Yeah.
they had all convenience stores looking like the Quickie Mart.
Yeah.
They had like things going around cross country of people taking pictures inside the Simpsons home, sitting on the purple couch.
Yeah.
I mean, like there was a lot of marketing and promoting leading up to this movie.
And
so I think Universal thought at that time, you know, it would be a cash cow, which obviously it did work for them, obviously for 15 years.
oh
But
yeah,
I don't think it was as big of what they thought it was going to be.
no. And you know what would be hilariously funny before we go? One thing I would find so funny in the second movie, you imagine they created a scene, right? So they're you know, they show the Simpsons family Homer, Bart, Lisa, Marge, Maggie. They're at Universal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're hanging out with, I don't know, Brian Roberts, or they're hanging out with Mark Woodbury, right? And they're they're riding their final ride on the attraction, and then
I
they
could
kind
definitely
of
see
hint
them.
on going to Disney.
Yeah, I could definitely see them taking shots at both Universal and Disney somewhere subtly in the movie for sure.
I think that's going to happen. I honestly do think that's going to happen. And you know what? That might be a good way to send off The Simpsons. You know what I mean? But
Oh,
then,
yeah.
but then again, it's been heavily speculated that part of the Simpsons land, at least here in Hollywood, is going to be closing in 2026. There's no validity behind that, but there's been a lot of talk and chatter behind that, to start stripping the IP away. So is it possible? Because when they say the movie would be coming out? Sometime next year?
The Simpsons movie's coming out July 23rd, 2027.
Oh, 27.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if they wait until 27 to close the land down, or they do it earlier.
Well, and for a fact too that if the movie's opening in 2027, the Simpsons are going to be incorporated next year at D23 for the students panel for sure.
That's going to be an interesting panel. Yep.
Because they even had the Simpsons incorporated in D23 already, where they had their own panel. I attended it. I went to the Simpsons panel. I got to see Matt Groening. I got to see Yardley Smith, Nancy Cartwright, some of the producers of the show. So they're not strangers to being part of D23. But I think with the movie coming out, they're definitely going to incorporate that at the Honda Center for the studio.
Oh, I think so. But then again, we'll just have to wait and see. But both parks look very, very exciting. I cannot wait. And again, I do not know if someone on the board made the decision to hire a Universal creative or an ex-Universal creative, because I'll tell you what, those two Avengers attractions are moving so fast. Every time I turn my head, there's a new addition added to that building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but George, I want to thank you so much for being on this live stream. We're almost at the 3-hour mark. God.
It does not seem like 3 hours.
It does not seem like 3 hours. I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank our wonderful moderator, Orange Go 55, not only for the super chat, but just being an awesome moderator, awesome friend. I want to thank our other guest, Jared from Capture the Magic. Always a great time having him on. But George, before I let you go, where can everyone find you on social media?
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you for having me on your Conductor Live. Always have a great time chatting it up with you. And thank you also for showcasing some of my vlogs and streams. I greatly appreciate it. But you could find me on my YouTube channel, Hollow Gelato, where basically Abby and I go around to not even just the theme parks, but we go to many different locations. But we go to Disneyland, Universal, Knott's Berry Farm. We do a lot of dining reviews, food reviews. We started our own segment that got added to the channel, Cocktail Convo. So definitely check that out. And also we got a couple other surprises. So definitely head over to Hollow Gelato and subscribe and hit that notification bell for all future content releases.
Absolutely. And again, Hollow Gelato, a great content creator, awesome friend. I cannot say how much I'm so glad I met George and his wife Abby. Just an absolute blessing in disguise to hang out with both of them. And to say the least, I'm so proud that you're a newer YouTube channel, and I have all the respect in the world for you. You've actually passed me in subscribers, And the fact that people are loving your content just makes me so happy that you put out such amazing content. It's absolutely incredible. I cannot wait to see the future of your channel. I cannot wait to hang out with you more in the theme parks, and being my first time in Orlando with you and Abby is going to be an absolute blast. It will be a time of my life I will never forget, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for the kind words. I actually didn't. I mean, I don't really like. I pay attention to like where my channel is going. Like, I don't really necessarily like compare it to like other channels, especially
No.
like my very close friends. But that's just wild to me that you just say that I surpassed you. I wasn't even really focusing on that, but that's crazy to me. As far as the trip, yes, I'm very much looking forward to just going on vacation with you and showing you around and being your personal tour guide and showing you how I do Walt Disney World, because I grew up with it. I mean, I was literally, that was like my home state park. And the fact that I get to, go over there with you and show you how it is, like that, to me, that will fulfill my vacation, to see you experience all this for the first time.
Oh, it's going to be great. And the content galore is going to happen. I cannot wait to be filming and taking pictures and trying the amazing food, because I know you have a lot of amazing restaurants you want me to try, so I cannot wait for that. One of my most anticipated theme parks for the Walt Disney World Resort is Epcot. My aunt, it's funny, my aunt was telling me the other day, because I was at a family function, she's all like, I heard you're going to Orlando in March. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to check out Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando. I have a great buddy who's going to be basically our tour guide, kind of walking us around through each park. She's like, you're going to Epcot, right? I'm like, well, of course I am. I want to check it out. She's like, no, you definitely got to do Epcot. Epcot is just one of those unique things. You'll never see it anywhere else in the world. You have to do it. You have to experience as much as possible. I'm like, slow down, Aunt Barbie. I'm going to do it. Trust me. You'll get pictures.
I mean, it is very unique. Where could you go to a place to drink around the world in one day, where you literally walk into Mexico and stagger out of Canada?
Exactly. That's what I mean. You can't find that. You just can't. But again, George, you're awesome, and I cannot wait to do future live streams with you. I think next weekend we're going to have Orange Grove 55 and Tommy Toon World. But if you're available, I would love to have you back on as well, because you're always welcome here on Conductor Sunday live stream or any video at all. I'm always open-minded, so I love talking theme parks, and I love talking about everything we talked about, even though one of the stories was kind of sad. And again, I just want to share my heart and prayers to the Kevin's family and Kevin himself. May he rest in peace. That no one should have that type of experience where you lose your life, but I'm hopeful that the family, with much more counseling and his friends, can move on, hopefully eventually, even though it's something you'll never forget. I just feel horrible, so it's something that I'm going to keep in the back of my mind, knowing that he passed away doing what he loved.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. And really quick, I do have to answer to Giant Peter Adventures. We need more Conductor and Halo Gelato Park content. Absolutely. And as we were speaking of going on our March trip, Conductor will be in a lot of Holo Gelato content for sure. I mean, literally 2 weeks worth.
2 weeks worth. We're going to be, oh my God, my phone's going to probably blow up. We're going to be doing, I'm assuming we're going to be doing content in the park. We're going to be doing content at restaurants, probably at gift shops. I know we're going to probably be doing live streams from the hotel room. It's going to be almost like a 24/7 light, content, experience type thing. So it's going to be nuts, but it's going to be awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
But I want to thank everyone for joining tonight's live stream. We are now at the 3 hour and 4 minute mark. Make sure to like and subscribe to Theme Park Conductor. And you can find me on YouTube and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on Instagram at theme_park_conductor. You can find me on X at Theme Conductor. You can also find me on TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1. And you can find me on YouTube every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 7 p.m. I'll try to keep everyone updated, where we have amazing guests like the one and only George, the Disney Italiano from Mahalo Gelato, and so many others like Jared from Capture the Magic, Tommy Toon World, Theme Park Wizard, and the one and only Orange Grove 55, where there's no other Orange Grove but 55. So definitely go check out their channels. They do a lot of amazing content, and I cannot wait to have them back on the show. Have a good night, everybody, and we'll see you guys next Sunday. Have a good night, everybody. Peace out.